Just as a reminder before we get started, this channel is for educational or perhaps entertainment purposes only, as well as all the social media accounts. And it's always important to do your own research and come up with your own conclusions. What's going on with that chat in the middle of the screen? Okay, that problem solved. Sorry about that. Hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Happy Friday. Good to see you. Hey, Penny, Ion, MTN, Super, Uni, Candidly, True Detective, Jeff, Super Unknown. Great to see you all on YouTube. Hello, hello. Hello to everyone else on Rumble and also Odysee. Don't see many in the chats over there, but hope you're all doing well. True Detective said hello on Odysee. Thank you. Okay, so just want to give you guys a heads up that... Sorry about that. Didn't even mean to blast your ears out. So just to let you all know, this is likely going to be the last video in this series, part 10. And we'll wrap up Memories of the Afterlife in this stream. I'm pretty sure we'll get through it all. If not, I'm going to try to at least chug through it and just make sure to get it done. So I have some other things I'm looking forward to doing on the channel, and happy that we've gotten through it all. We're very close to it. So thanks for all hanging in there. If you've been watching throughout the entire series, or maybe just stopped in tonight. And they're, on the schedule, there'll be some things coming. I know Dan and I were talking about doing something last weekend, I think it was. And we'll also be getting together for a conversation probably sometime in the next week or so. So who knows, maybe even this weekend. I got to reach out to him and see what his schedule's like. But there's some other things I have in mind, and then of course the Laughing at the Clown World Matrix channel will be kicking off on Rumble and Odysee soon. If you're interested in kind of having a few laughs together and not taking life so seriously, feel free to subscribe over to those channels. You can find them in the description tab. All right, so let's get into part 10 of the series. There is a total of 4 tracks left, and looking forward to doing this. So, well, I thought I had that ready, but of course I don't. There we go. All righty.
"29. I Know I Am Going to Hell" by Tina Zion, Fort Wayne, Indiana, certified hypnotherapist, internationally known author, counselor, and intuitive. This case study illustrates how a religious teaching can affect one's beliefs about life and death. What we are taught as children stays with us. Fear-based beliefs can become a debilitating burden. Amy carried a burden of damnation through life that had severe effects on her. The fear of hell is common for people brought up in some religious structures, and even for those who were not. As this case will show, hell is a construct of earthly teachings, not an experience found in the spirit world. Amy spoke in a soft voice as she sat down for the first time in my office. "I know that I am going to hell." I was surprised to hear this statement from her. In spite of this declaration, Amy had no specific goals for an LBL, only a curiosity about what might happen. She was so matter-of-fact about her imminent damnation to hell that I realized she had already submitted to her fate. Amy stated that she knew deep within her heart that she would have an eternal life in hell. Since childhood, Amy's family had attended a small, independent, fundamental Christian church. Now 26 years old, Amy's minister and family had convinced her that she was a sinner and was going to hell. While explaining her church life, she admitted to me that she was not yet baptized in her own church because she had failed as a Christian and was not worthy of baptism. Amy continued to explain that on her wedding day, her own minister refused to marry them. She had to hire a minister from a different church. When I questioned her about this arrangement, Amy quietly said that she is not a Christian because she has not been baptized. Amy cannot see any hope of ever meeting the standards of her church and minister in the future. This young woman continued describing the heavy burden of guilt, shame, and responsibility that she carried with her. I agonize over a couple of people because they went...
Remember, it's the fear, guilt, shame matrix. I mean, it's just incredible. Well, not incredible. I mean, it's so obvious with them, with what she's saying here about this case. I mean, it's so rigid, and it's like you grow up and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to go to hell if I don't do this, or I'm going to go to hell if I don't comply and make sure to do ABC or X, Y, Z. I mean, it's so screwed up. Anyways, fear, guilt, shame matrix.
Describing the heavy burden of guilt, shame, and responsibility that she carried with her. I agonize over a couple of people because they went to hell because of me. I have guilt because I did not read the Bible to them and didn't do my part to lead them to Christ before they died. I have always been told that it is my duty to tell people about the Bible and to teach them. You are obligated to do this for others. When I asked her to explain this to me, Amy continued, "The minister used me as an example in our church one time. He pointed me out to everyone in the church. When I was 14 years old, my cousin and I spent time with a boy. He was cool, 23 years old, and drove a motorcycle. So we hung out with him. He died suddenly. The minister told the congregation that I should have spent the time telling him about Christ and reading the Bible to him. He said that we only have this one time in life to make it right. We have no second chances. I ran out of the church crying. I knew that it was my fault that this friend of mine was not going to heaven because I did not take the time to tell him about Jesus." At home, Amy's mother supported their minister's viewpoint and reinforced this debilitating burden of shame and guilt for causing the eternal damnation of another soul. There was no way for Amy to resolve or repair her mistake. She was told she only had one chance to do right, and she'd completely failed. She continued to explain to me that not only did she fail this man, but that she has failed every person she has ever met in her life because she has not led them to Jesus. This 14-year-old girl carried this responsibility for the next 12 years of her life. After the session began, she arrived at her memory of being in her mother's womb. As Amy went deeper into hypnosis, she seemed hesitant and fearful. Her voice often seemed childlike. She had little awareness of body choice or life plan. "I don't like the feel of my body." When I questioned her about the compatibility of this body and brain, she replied, "I think it is angry too. It is fighting it." She was not aware of anything else in the womb. Amy continued back into a past life memory, but it was difficult for her to re-experience. At 12 years old, she had found herself in a dress of brown rags, her hair filthy, starving to death alone in a swamp outside of a small American village. She had been banished. "I just feel like I can't go back to the town. I starve out here. I am alone. This life is just hard and lonely, and there weren't any good people there. I do not like that town. There is nothing good there. I don't feel anything good. I don't feel like it did anything for me. I can leave it." We moved on to her death experience. During the death transition, she continued, "I am in the sky, but I am looking at my body. I am still by myself, but I am looking down. I am in the trees. I am mad. I am still mad." I asked her, "What do you think about your death?" She replied, "Well, it makes me mad too." Amy became more uncertain and hesitant. Transitioning into the spirit realm seemed new to her. I encouraged her to notice anything that came into her awareness.
As I moved away, everything went black. Something is white and flickering. It is real white. It is dancing around, and it is coming to me. It is way up ahead, and I can't make it out.
So it's in the distance, it's white, it's flickering. Remember, let's just back this up just a little bit.
It went black.
I urged her to notice any more uncertain and hesitant. Transitioning into the spirit realm seemed new to her. I encouraged her to notice anything that came into her awareness.
As I moved away, everything went black. Something is white and flickering.
So it's interesting, as she moved away, everything went black, and then, or was black and started flickering in the distance. So she did kind of make a move there. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm looking too far into it, but because we only have what we have to go off of it. But of course, the flickering white light is in the distance and moving towards her.
It is dancing around, and it is coming to me. It is way up ahead, and I can't make it out. It looks like it has wings. It feels like I am kind of being pulled. I could fight it, but I don't know where to go.
It's like the tunnel.
The white light engulfs me and then moves back.
Notice how she says, I could fight it. Important.
I don't know where to go. Being pulled.
There.
It feels like I am kind of being pulled. I could fight it, but I don't know where to go.
I could fight it, but I don't know where to go. So this, I think, encapsulates probably a lot of decisions that many of us have probably made at some point in past lifetimes. You know, it's like, oh, so instead of going to light, maybe we're going to do something different. Or perhaps you even end up becoming a disembodied spirit and you're still lost in the illusion of the whole earth realm part of the system, right? And haven't crossed over into the light like the system wants, but because of preconceived beliefs about who and what you are in relation to, you know, where you are within the Matrix system, you lose yourself. So I think what we're seeing here is just another open admission that, yes, we do have the power. Right here, she's saying, I could, you know, choose to do something else, but I don't know where to go. You know, so having these belief systems learned here and carried over into the afterlife or at the time of death specifically, they are really like a game killer. Or a essence killer, because we are continuing to fall into that. So the whole point is to say, no, I'm aware that all of this is just a big game, a big parasitic clown show. It's an illusion, all wrapped in enigma, trying to get me sucked into another incarnation, or at a minimum, still within the Matrix system. So, again, like, this is just one example of many where, you know, our powers and ability to control the show is openly admitted, openly seen, yet the opportunity isn't taken. But if the opportunity was taken, do you think we'd even be hearing this story? I think not.
It engulfs me and then moves back. It is a person. I am being pulled to outer space. Long pause. I can't go any farther.
After long, long silences, Amy realized that she could not go any farther. She must go back and revisit her past life. She resisted and was angry. I helped guide her through her resistance. As she quietly hovered over her 12-year-old body again, she finally stated, I guess I need to forgive people. I don't know why. I didn't do anything. They were just cruel, ugly people. I can't forgive them. Long pause. This is a lesson. I'm learning how destructive cruelty and the lack of love can be. I don't need to look at my body anymore. Amy immediately felt a sense of freedom and lifted quickly away from Earth and into the spirit world. My guide surrounds me and fills me with love and contentment. Released from that painful time, she immediately discovered her soul group. Her current brother appeared as white light with some hints of blue. She never recognized the others, who remained white like herself. When asked about her group, she stated, "We have the same problems with people and forgiveness. They are doing about the same. I think we have a ways to go in our advancement. I am feeling some contentment, but it seems like we have more to learn. They are fun. We clown around. My group just flies around space. We are not on Earth, but we are in our woods. It is just like being alive again. There are 4 white lights, and they are laughing. I don't know who they are."
They're laughing.
I asked her if the group had any goals for themselves.
So she's wandering around, and being laughed at by 4 lights.
I don't know who they are. I asked her if the group had any goals for themselves. She quickly replied, "The big one." She seemed to think that said it all. When asked to clarify, Amy said, "It's all about love of people and liking them. We are not doing real well with that goal. I feel like I cannot go any further. I am not able to go any further with my guide because I am not ready for it. It feels like there is something bigger. Anytime I leave the lights of my group, I am just in space. I feel the pull to be back with the group. I am happy there. They are familiar people." Amy's voice became clearer and more confident about issues regarding her current life. "Amy, I have to work at it. I have hardships, but not more than I can handle. I do not like humans. I would be content to stay where I am. No, I don't remember choices. I don't remember wanting this hardship on Earth either. I am trying to accept females, trying for fairness and to get it right. I have always been female. Tina, are you living this life according to your goals? Amy, I am not doing enough with people. I need to involve myself with people.
Remember, you're not doing enough. I'm not doing enough with people. I got to involve myself with people. What if she doesn't want to? She clearly doesn't want to. She doesn't want to deal with people. I don't blame her. But, it's... but it's like, what does this kind of always funnel into? We're going to need you to go back down. Or, you got some of your goals completed. And bravo, good job. But you missed the mark again. Guess you're going to have to end up going through the whole damn process all over again. And reincarnate. Thank you. Next.
Tina, what are you to do? Amy, what I dread the most? I am supposed to open my arms to people and embrace them and get in with them. I must learn to love and understand people.
Tina, what is the purpose of this particular life you are currently living?
Amy, to learn to love all. I am very loving, but narrow. I need to be more accepting and loving of all. Tina, check with your guide to see how to attend to this. Amy.
Ah, yes,
the
the
heart.
guide.
Just the heart. Tina, how does the church or religion fit in with this life purpose, or does it? Amy, yes, it does. Not religion, but God's church. God fits in. The Creator, all for the reasons I do not understand.
All for reasons I do not understand. He fits in there somehow, but for reasons I don't understand. So I'm just going to blindly believe. Yeah, I may not want to be under the pressure of this specific religion, but when it comes to God, well, I'm just going to follow blindly and never consider myself a sovereign being or take my own path. See, this is like, it's automatic, my friends. It's automatic. It has to immediately disconnect someone from their essence about what they're capable of and immediately just toss it right over to some being she openly admits that she knows nothing about or doesn't know the reasoning for doing so. Come on, this is the problem in a nutshell. This is like one of the biggest problems that plagues humanity from further discovering themselves and realizing who and what they are, and that they themselves can get out of this situation at the time of natural death and never have to deal with it again.
It does. Not religion, but God's church. God fits in. The Creator, all for the reasons I do not understand. The Creator of the earth and human beings, so it's just about love. That is all I can get.
God.
Tina, I want you to check into the existence of hell.
Editor's note. In the thousands of LBL cases I have conducted, added to many thousands more by facilitators in TNI, we have found no evidence of the existence of a purgatory or hell in the afterlife. These are outdated human conceptions designed to frighten susceptible people into religious interpretations of proper conduct in life. In Amy's case, her initial visions of the spiritual gateway being cluttered with tormented souls was a preconditioned carryover that hell must exist on the other side. This indicates that she was not hypnotically deep enough in the theta state as well. On the larger issue of the human fear of punishment associated with the concept of hell, we have learned many things in this regard through hypnosis. If a soul has been in a host body engaged in evil acts that have caused suffering to others, there are opportunities for solitary reflection and counseling by our soul companions, guides, and masters after such a life. No human being is born evil, but souls can become contaminated by imperfections and mental damage to their host bodies, especially to the less advanced soul. There are means for spiritual contrition for people who have severely hurt others during a lifetime, but going to purgatory or hell is not one of them. Karmic adjust occur in our future.
Oh, okay. Let me just pause it for a minute before he gets too far. So the concept of hell, yes, is learned here, and it's not just, if you're falling into Christianity or whatever. It spans in its own way in a number of other religions. It's like, be good or else. This is what you face when you die. Now, once, like Newton mentioned, it's the belief system, the preconceived beliefs that were learned here that carry over, that can present a hellish situation, just like with what we see in NDEs or sometimes with comas. One of the chatters mentioned bad trips, things like that. But even with something like a bad trip, you have a drug involved too that can start to make your thoughts race and allow kind of an opening to occur where thoughts can be implanted, essentially. Entities can toy with you and mess with you, and you end up kind of getting lost in that shuffle because of the drug or because of something like an NDE or the coma is another example of the drug playing a factor in all this. And, of course, your own thoughts or thoughts that are being injected or blasted into you by outside entities. Same thing with meditation. It's all the same stuff. All the same stuff. You can have incredible meditation sessions, but you could have some dark ass meditation sessions that are hell-like. It's not all roses all the time. So, but really, let's just kind of boil this down. What's really the root issue? The meat suit, the connection that we're still in this matrix in general. Even when leaving the body, there's still a loose connection to the meat suit. It's, you can leave your body and go exploring and have a hell of a time, or no pun intended, you have a great time or a hell-like time, right? And so it's, everything really roots down to us still being in their crazy land, right? Or crazy realms, like the Matrix in general. Like, we're in their construct, under their rules, under their meat suit, under their etheric kind of overlays, that the energies that bind us here until our natural death. So it's up to us to reclaim ourselves, just like we were talking about earlier. And having negative thoughts that, oh, I'm going to go to hell or this or that are horrible. It's like you're setting yourself up on a platter. Same thing with like belief in heaven and this and that. You're setting yourself up because the Matrix in either scenario, okay, so if you believe in heaven, oh, come on in, heaven. And what is it? It's all love and white light, you know, so it's an amazing experience. Okay, I made it to heaven. So confirmation, check mark, confirmed. You believe in hell, you believe you've done bad, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you're going to have a hellish experience, and then guess what? The Matrix is going to come and save the day and bring you out of that experience, just like what we see all the time, especially in like NDEs. Like you see that a lot. There's always like a white light in the distance that is soothing and giving them a peace of mind. Meanwhile, they're getting their ass kicked 6 ways to Sunday in every other part of the scenario. So something is coming and playing the savior role. And most likely, if you're in a hellish situation and you don't realize your true power because you've bought into all this indoctrination from Earth that you carried with you, then you're easy prey, easy pickings. So it's like, see how this all just kind of funnels itself into the same old bullshit? And everything relies on us as individuals. I know I would keep repeating myself, but can't be stated enough. It's really, really important to realize what you're capable of and that you can put your foot down and block it all out and be on your merry way.
There's during a lifetime. But going to purgatory or hell is not one of them. Karmic adjustments for past behavior will occur in our future lives, usually chosen by the offending souls themselves, who, with help, will select certain bodies to learn specific lessons.
Amy. Long pause. I got a chill and flashes of faces. Long pause. But I think they are souls in torment. Even a longer pause. But I think now it is their own doing, their own creation. He, Amy's guide, was showing me it is dark and cold.
Editor's note: darkness and cold are relative terms humans associate with their preconceptions about hell. In the early stages of their LBL sessions, some clients exhibit conscious interference with their belief systems concerning religious dogma. These beliefs may be confused with actual visualizations when they describe zones of self-imposed separation and seclusion from other souls in the spirit world for reasons other than punishment from a vengeful God.
Tina. What are you to know about this? Amy. Long pause. It is their own creation, just like me. I am not stuck. It is their own creation.
I am not stuck. It is their own creation. Remember, we're in someone else's construct. We're inside of, some sort of AI type like supercomputer that's running the show. But there are also beings involved who are falling for the Matrix and working at the behest of it unknowingly, or they're knowingly working at it, but unknowingly involved in the parasitic propping up of the realm itself by whatever they could be involved with in relation to keeping us here or others in other realms or in the astral, wherever. But it's their creation. These specific entities, which whatever we can call them, the guides, the teachers, it's we can create too. We can decide what we want to do. But their creation. Keywords there.
About this. Amy. Long pause. It is their own creation, just like me. I am not stuck. It is their own creation. It is a lack of understanding. They just don't get the simplicity. They just don't get it. They just are supposed to seek answers. Tina, at what stage is your advancement compared to this? Amy, I am far away from them. Tina, how do you feel about all that you have learned? Amy, I feel good. I can't explain it. I say stuck, but I am not stuck. It is about understanding, but I can't see it. It is perfect.
Understanding is indoctrination. Understanding is the Matrix marketing department making sure that you are well trained and adjusted and buying into what they're selling.
I say stuck, but I am not stuck.
She's not
It is about
stuck.
understanding, but I can't see it. It is perfect, and there is more.
Perfect.
I can't explain it.
The fuck out.
Tina, is there anything else that your guide wants you to know? Amy, love, love, love. That's all there is. It is now 5 years later.
Roll out
Amy
the
is
Beatles.
31 years old. In a conversation with me, she recollects her past life experience in the late 1700s, where she died of starvation as a young girl.
Oh,
Amy,
so loving.
it was bad. I was tormented by everyone. Similar things are still happening in this life.
Okay, so she goes from saying it's all about love, love, love. And then like the next sentence is like, oh, she had a lifetime in the late 1800s where she died of starvation and was basically harassed and tormented by others. Yeah, love, love, love. God, it's all there. It's so blatant. It's right in front of our faces. How you can go from saying, oh, it's all love, 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 to, oh, she had a life in the 1800s and starved to death and was being harassed and abused and who knows what else. Come on. That is the freaking, just the brainwashing right there, encapsulated in a perfect moment within less than a minute.
Things are still happening in this life. Tina, what did you like most about the LBL experience? Amy, what I liked most was seeing the other people there. I saw enough to make me a believer. There is a reason we are here.
I saw enough to make me a believer. I mean, I'm sorry I got to keep stopping this, but I saw enough to make me a believer. Remember, first she's saying, like, you know, I could go and do what I wanted. But it's like has these questions, obviously, this lingering, and like she needs to get to a point where she's, I guess, trusting or believing in who and what she's dealing with. And boom, you know, it's eventually the Matrix is going to put enough out there where she is a believer. And so this entire time she's showing interest, she's involved and openly doing all of this. She said multiple occasions, I'm not powerless. I could do what I want, basically. And yet went against that every single turn. Every single turn. And why is that? Probably because, like when we cross over, it's not easy, right? Like it's like we're going from this 3D sluggish type experience over to a completely different state of being, still having some of the garbage that we just came from intermingled with our thoughts, our mind, our essence, whatever. And so moving forward, or seeing things like loved ones or, religious figures, God, the creator, whoever, having like that confirmation, that soothing feeling, that familiarity, is exactly how this place continues to win as well. It's expectations or curiosity. I think most of us in this chat, we're curious. We want to know answers. But everyone's curious about things. So when you cross over from the human body into a different state of existence, it's going to take a little adjusting. So the key thing is not to immediately give yourself away to anything. Lock yourself up. Protect yourself, basically.
The ideas of heaven and hell are messing people up. It is a relief to know that there is more than one chance to get it right. Tina, what thoughts did you have as you listened to the recording of your LBL? Amy, I had forgotten that much of this experience was between the lives here on Earth and also seeing the people between lives. For example, I was with my little brother during the LBL. He is still alive with me in this life, but I remember reading in Dr. Newton's book, Journey of Souls, that only part of our energy is here in this life, and some of our energy remains in the spirit world. I am closer to him than anyone. He is the only person that I even recognized during the LBL. It bothers me that I did not even see my own husband. Tina, what impact, if any, did your LBL have on your current life? Amy, it took a load off, and it made sense. I liked it, and it gave a reason for us all to be here. Tina, what would you say about hell now? Amy, I saw people in pain and anguish. They were in a dark place, and it was cold. Faces kept coming up to me. I did not know anyone. I got the impression that they could have followed the light. Nothing was tormenting them. They just did not follow the light. They seemed more lost than anything. They just weren't trying to see the light.
Okay, so what we're talking about here is disembodied spirits who have refused to cross over into the light. And I've seen different scenarios where you hear about calmness, you hear about like agitation with some of these beings that are in this state. A lot of it, well, I wouldn't say a lot of it, I would say almost all of it is related to an addiction to the connection of their most recent lifetime that they came from. They're refusing to cross over for whatever the reason may be. Could be friends, family, children, parents, pets. You know, you were living, you know, the high life. Maybe you were a millionaire or something, or really well off. Like, you know, life was good. And it was suddenly disconnected and taken away in some form. Those are like, that's a very, very consistent data pattern that's out there when it comes to disembodied spirits, that most are still way, way, way hooked to their most recent incarnation.
Was tormenting them. They just did not follow the light. They seemed more lost than anything.
They know that the light represents that, you know, their lifetime is over. You know, like that the lifetime that they're coming from, no matter how long they've been hanging in the lower earth astral, that is a representation of the final exit. What happens at the light? The life review, right? That wraps up and concludes someone's life script for their most recent incarnation. So they're trying their best to refuse it. You know what's a great example of this, where you can see it, is in the movie Soul. I know I talk about a lot, the Disney Pixar movie Soul with Joe. He's doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. He does not want to move on. That's because, like, he was, you know, his life was just starting to get good. You know, he was hired in that band. You know, he was a music teacher, but ended up getting hired in that band. Something that he always dreamed to do, to be able to go on the road or play clubs with a you know, play great music every night. He gets that, and what happens? Boom! Soon as his wish comes through, dies, falls down a pothole. I mean, that's like a typical Matrix bullshit, right? Someone, you know, works and slaves away trying to get their dream job their whole life, and then they get it, and then it's like the Matrix, like, come here, yank. And he just kept trying and trying and trying and trying to get it back. Anyways, if you haven't seen that animation film, it's a must-see. It's I think you should watch it at least a couple times. There's a lot in it, a lot revealed.
They just did not know. I saw a dark, cold, black place. When I realized that I was in the midst of this dark place, I stepped back. I did not recognize the faces. I just moved forward, and I moved out of it into the brightness and warmth.
Now I realize that the expressions on the faces were not in agony or pain. They were just confused and lost. They just didn't know where they were or what to do.
Editor's note: there are no truly lost souls, but rather spirits who won't go into the light right after a life because of unfinished business on Earth.
Exactly. There it is.
Tina, when people hear your story here, what do you really want them to understand from your experience?
Something I would like to kind of add to what Newton just said, even though we kind of rehashed everything that he mentioned in like a sentence. The other thing I've contemplated is obviously there is going to be a subset of beings who intuitively know that the light is not where they want to go. But the problem is that they have continued to fall for BS, and they have belief systems. It could even be things like Buddhism, Hinduism, things like that, where you feel you need to go through the Bardo realms or whatever the case, all sorts of possibilities that can relate to even a spiritually in tune individual who may, intuitively know, I guess, that, they're not ready to go to the light or they're not going to do it yet. Maybe some of them even know it's a trap. But what were the belief systems that they had when they crossed over? Did they feel like they needed to answer to somebody else? Did they feel that they needed to go and do this or go through these Bardo phases or Bardo realms? Or did they feel that they needed to do something in relation to the illusion of the overall connected matrix system, specifically to Earth and the astral, like the light or whatever it may be? Matrix, let's just say the matrix. Did they have those hang-ups and attachments? I would bet money on it. I'd probably bet almost everything I had on it. And then, of course, you have the whole other subset, what we talked about earlier, the disincarnated spirits, which are linked to too hooked to their most recent incarnation that they haven't moved on from yet.
I just got the impression that it is so much simpler. There is so much fighting and killing and guilty feelings for those who have died. You make the choice. It is all so simple. I feel better about everything. Tina, do you have anything else to tell me about your LBL experience? Amy, it was so positive. It took away guilt and relieved my conscience. I still believe in Jesus Christ, but not in hell. I now believe we have more than one time to learn and improve. We have more than one chance.
Oh, that's all right.
This young woman had been conditioned her entire life to expect the inevitable, a horrifying, hellish life after death.
Boy, I wonder. Yeah, that's so beautiful. You know what that is, guys? That's love, love, love.
A horrifying,
Terrible.
hellish life after death.
Poor thing.
In spite of her lifelong programming, Amy found something else. She was comforted by a loving guide and supported by her fun-seeking soul group. She experienced forgiveness and then freedom from anguish. She did not find hell where souls are condemned to agony and punishment for eternity, but rather a place where confused souls were making their own choices. Not only did she discover fun, simplicity, and understanding, Amy found more than one chance to learn and improve.
All right, so that is going to wrap up that case. So we have 3 more to go. Let me just bring that down here. All right, so we're going to move on to the next one. That was an interesting one. Oh, and one thing I did want to kind of add. I've talked about it a number of times, but I think it's important to point out is about when you hear narratives about someone who, I was traveling through space and this and that. Remember, belief systems that are taught and learned and crammed into us here will carry over there. And sometimes I've noticed with those who describe, I was just flying through space or something like that, a lot of times it's like a representation of the void. Very rarely do you hear things about planets and this and that. I mean, it does pop up, don't get me wrong. So it's not like I'm going to discount them, because these are things, these are illusions, these are constructs that the Matrix desperately wants us to subscribe to or believe in, right? That, you know, this is the universe. This is the Matrix universe, the Matrix multiverse, I guess, however that works out, right? And so having, again, those pre-baked belief systems can be represented when you leave here or have an out-of-body experience. All right, so let me just pop that up one more time. All right, here we go.
30. I have just a couple questions. By Teo Hui Meng, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Hypnosis trainer and LBL practitioner with the Newton Institute. Quite often, the preparatory work for a Life Between Lives session can be lengthy. Clients often have many questions. Rapport between client and facilitator is all important. And the LBL practitioner will want to be as certain as possible that each client is absolutely ready to make the Between Lives journey. The life-changing benefits derived from the following session clearly demonstrate the importance of such preparation. Elsie is in her late 40s and is happily married with 2 children. She is a highly paid executive in a multinational organization located in a small town about 2 hours' drive from my office in Kuala Lumpur, and she appeared to have much in her life that others would envy. She had read all of Dr. Newton's books and had just a couple questions about spiritual regression that she hoped I could answer. When we spoke, she told me she had been feeling rather down of late. Furthermore, she had always felt a part of her was missing. Her job creates opportunities for extensive travel, and she'd had the privilege of securing the services of a couple of past life regression therapists while traveling abroad. Unfortunately, the sessions did not seem to have helped her much, so she was turning to me and the process of LBL spiritual regression. Initially, our correspondence spanned a few months of emailing back and forth. One morning in September, after a final pre-session telephone conversation, I met up with Elsie at last. On first impression, she appeared to be a demanding, confident, and outspoken executive who would not leave any stone unturned in order to find her answers. The first 30 minutes proved to be more of an interrogation of me, where I thoroughly explained the concept of life between lives and the work of Dr. Michael Newton.
I like that. I like the way that's starting. You know, do an interrogation. Make sure she wants to be comfortable with who she's dealing with in a Life Between Lives session.
Her doubts and queries, and as I described some of my other clients' discoveries, I reassured her of my experience as a Life Between Lives therapist. A number of questions had been constantly bothering her, and she hoped to find answers through the LBL process. She sought clarification of her current life mission. Thoughts of death had been uppermost in her mind, and she wondered if this could mean that she would soon be meeting her own death. Elsie was also intrigued to find out why she had been so attracted to metaphysical subjects in recent years. She'd been buying and reading a lot of books about energy healing, Reiki, and past life regression, and she did not understand the reason for such a shift in her interest. Although happily married, she had become aware of uncharacteristic and seemingly unorthodox feelings toward one of her metaphysical teachers, and she yearned to discover the source of these feelings. And every now and then, since the demise of her beloved mother when she was 10 years old, she'd had a sense of her mother's advisory, protective presence. At times, this awareness had extended to her dreams. Elsie was confused. Did these experiences really signify the presence of her mother, or were they just her own wishful thinking? She wondered how she could become more closely attuned to her spiritual self, and was keen to discover the identities of her soulmate and spirit guide. The session was conducted in the manner suggested by Dr. Newton, commencing with the recovery of happy or neutral childhood memories, and flowing naturally into regression to Elsie's earliest current life experiences before returning to her mother's womb. Nothing spectacular happened during these times, But it was encouraging that Elsie displayed a great ability to recall her earlier memories. The passage to her most recent past life was reported as bumpy, which seemed to signify a lifetime full of challenges. True enough, she saw herself as a lonely traveler, going by the name of Kamal, and living in a Middle Eastern country. Kamal found himself walking around the countryside in search of medicinal herbs. He was robbed, beaten, and even tortured during this particular lifetime. And at certain junctures, this soul seemed to be attracted to re-experiencing traumatic events.
Ah, but it's all about love, love, love. Oh, my God, this poor guy. I want to give a big thank to Uwu for the super chat. It says, "Hi, Mark. I appreciate you covering this material and hope you're well. Cheers." Doing well, my friend. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. You're always so kind.
Seemed to be attracted to re-experiencing traumatic events.
Terrible.
Aside from the karmic lessons here, a key aspect of our work is to enter the spirit world from a death scene in a former life. This provides a natural transition to our ultimate destination in LBL. On the last day of the life, just before Kamal's death, he reported the presence of 3 loyal disciples at his bedside. Not blood relations. These 3 people had admired his devotion to herbal medicines and had patiently studied with him for a long time. He died of old age with no regrets. He felt he had accomplished his mission in this life and was now ready to go home. Meng. Kamal, how do you know that this is the day you are going to die? Elsie. I feel my body is aching, and mentally I am so tired. The 3 of them are standing by my side. They do not utter any words, but their facial expressions tell me I must be very sick. Meng. What happens next? Elsie. Oh, why am I floating in the air? Why are they crying so loud? Ah, I am dead. But I feel so light. Floating. I feel free. Meng, is there anything you wish to accomplish as yet? Are you able to communicate with any one of them? Elsie. No. I know I have done what I am supposed to do in this life. I have no regrets whatsoever. Yeah. I forgot to tell them there is a little book that I have written containing my lifetime research. I think that the youngest guy amongst them should be given this book to spread my teaching after I am gone. I trust him most. Meng. How do you intend to do that? Elsie. I think I will go into his dream tonight and tell him so. He will be so sad and tired after my passing on, and I know that would be the most appropriate time to contact him. Editor's note. Some souls are more skillful than others with implanting messages for people in a dream state. I encourage my client to do this and to let me know when her effort has been accomplished. She was silent for a minute or two, and as I waited for her signal to proceed, she shifted her body and said, I am done now. The session continued. Meng. Do you notice any sensations now? Elsie hesitates for a while. Oh, I am floating higher and higher now. I am floating out of my house, higher. I can see my house below, my town, my state, my country. The earth seems to be below me, and I am ascending higher into the sky now. I am within the galaxy with stars around me. Wait. I am being guided by some energy. This feels really good. I have never felt so good before in my life.
Yeah, there's a love bomb creeping up. It is just like
going home now. I do not seem to have a physical body, but light describes my body's shape. I am transparent and I feel light. At this point, Elsie appeared to be very emotional, with tears flowing from her eyes. Meng, what do you notice now? Elsie. I seem to stop. All around me are stars.
They seem to stop.
Beautiful, flickering, colorful stars dancing everywhere. Strange.
Sure they aren't orbs?
Been here before. Now the dancing stops and 5 stars, which appear to be brighter than the rest, start to come toward me. They all feel very welcoming and encouraging.
I bet they do.
Now the one on the right-hand side, 3 o'clock, comes forward and greets me. No words can be heard, but I know the star is telling me, welcome home, my friend.
Welcome
It is
home.
just like a message running through my mind.
It's the same thing over and over and over again. Here's a data point flying right in front of our faces again that crosses over the knees. Welcome home, welcome. The welcome wagon is rolled out. Roll out the family, roll out the Jesus, roll out whoever, the God, the creator, the source, the guide, the teacher, the council. Roll them all out. And then they can enter a stadium or an amphitheater, and all of a sudden everyone's clapping for him. Kyle, you did it. Bravo, bravo. It's the same shit. Same playbook over and over and over again. It's the same playbook of everyone being played. Everyone is being played on this mass deception. And it's so easy to see. It's right there.
I developed the clock technique as a useful means for both client and facilitator to sort out and identify circular soul positions in a group upon re-entry of the soul to the spirit world in LBL therapy. Meng, to continue with our exploration together, can you or are you able to tell me what name you are called in this place? Elsie.
Sucker.
Wait. I think it is a sound. Sounds like...
That's terrible. I shouldn't say that.
Homie. Yes, my soul name is Homie. Editor's note. The language of sound in the afterlife is complex, and nowhere is this more evident in LBL therapy than in the pronunciation of spiritual names. Some subjects have an easier time than others, but asking clients to spell out their soul name seems most effective. Meng. Good, Homie. I'm glad you know that.
Homie.
Now, may I ask whether you can help me to assist Elsie to receive the answers to a number of questions that have been bugging her all this time? Elsie, as Homie.
They'll definitely tell the truth.
I'm glad to. Editor's note. LBL facilitators may use a therapeutic approach utilizing our soul-brain duality. Here, the soul self is asked to assist the temporary human ego in problem-solving. The use of an immortal soul name helps ground the subject in the spirit world. Meng.
I just want to give a big thank you to David Roman. Says with the super chat, says, Mark, your work matters, maybe not today or tomorrow, but this should be a course taught in a university. I want to wish you continued success. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. That's very kind of you. Thanks so much, brother. Yeah, but being taught in a university, that'd be I don't know if that would ever happen. I think that's when the Matrix would step in and be like, a couple hundred people on a live stream, they can that'll let that go, but a university course.
Third world. Meng. What is happening now? Elsie, Homie. The brightest star is leading me through the gateway now. Ha! I feel like I'm floating or flying in the air. This journey feels so light and easy. The journey is simply awesome, as I am weightless. Meng, how do you look in this state? Do you have a body, color, or race? Elsie, Homie, no, I have no body. Everything I sense about myself is just light and energy. Meng, where are you headed now? Elsie, Homie, I do not know. Meng, please report to me what is in front of you right now. Elsie, Homie, I am being led to a space by the light. This space looks like a huge room with no boundary, just a wall that seems to be expanding whenever I approach it. I feel warmth and a sense of belonging here. I notice a strong light coming toward me while the light that is guiding me retreats to my back. I am now surrounded by different colored lights. They are welcoming me back.
Of course.
We are of the same category.
Yes.
It is my
we're
own
one.
group. Editor's note. During the initial welcome of a returning soul, our guides often retreat to the background to sustain privacy. The same practice by our guides is also used when souls first return to their spirit group after a life. Meng, do you feel or sense anyone you know here? Elsie, Hami.
I bet they
Wait,
do.
let me think. Well, the light located at 11 o'clock is so full of love.
Of course.
Unselfish love.
Unselfish.
It is coming toward me now and encompasses me with its color.
No, don't do it.
Feels so familiar. Meng, look right through and beyond the light. Does it remind you of anyone? Elsie, Hami. Oh, she is my mom! With emotion.
Voice.
I missed you so. She is my mom! With Elsie, Hami. Oh, she is my mom!
What the
With emotion. I missed you so much. Why did you leave me so suddenly when I was still unable to fully appreciate your love? Client then reports her mother's reply. It was simply time for me to go home. You need to learn to be on your own. It is all in the plan. However, all this time I have been beside you and protecting you from where I am. In fact, to prove that to you, have you noticed me stroking your hair at night? Elsie. And I thought I was having hallucinations all this time.
Oh.
So you never left me, Mom. I feel so much more at ease knowing that you are always with me. Meng, Hami, can you help Elsie to understand why she has such a tendency toward unusual feelings about her religious teacher? Here my client's voice changes noticeably, assuming a calmer, steadier pace. Hami replies, Elsie, Hami. Elsie must be aware that this man is actually from her soul group. His role is to help her achieve greater insight into her spiritual development. It is no coincidence that, after first encountering this religious teacher, Elsie has been more in tune with New Age teachings. Elsie should concentrate on synergizing their energies. They will complement each other in their mutual quest for higher understanding. Here, Elsie murmurs to herself, Thank goodness. Now I know he is actually my soulmate. Meng, Elsie also wishes to know who her spirit guide is. Hami, could this be the very first light that came to welcome you just now? Elsie, Hami. Elsie's spirit guide is not in physical form. Her spirit guide is represented by the gut feeling and instincts that she has been experiencing all this time. Meng. Very good. Let's continue. Elsie. I am beginning to leave this space, and I am zooming off in another direction. The light is guiding me. We are stopping now in front of a strange structure with a green-colored door and a large, high arch above the doorway. I am being ushered in by my guiding light. Meng, what happens next? Please report to me. Elsie, I can see a round-shaped table with some patches of translucent light behind it. Meng, how many of these patches of translucent light do you notice? Elsie, let me count. There are 5, mostly blue and purple lights. Hami, as Elsie's soul, describes to me the individual color tones of what is clearly her council of elders sitting in a semicircle around her. Because of their advisory guiding nature, I continue to ask questions in order to encourage Hami Elsie and derive maximum benefit from this meeting. Meng, Hami, may I know why you have been led to this place? Is this a day of great learning or some kind of judgment? Elsie, I am here to communicate with these 5 souls who are responsible for guiding my own evolution as a soul. They are here to provide answers, but not to pass judgment. I know that. I have been through this same process many times before, and I do not feel any anxiety as I face them. In fact, I feel totally calm. Meng, that is good, Hami. Elsie has asked me to find out the answers to the following questions. 1. What is her mission in this current life? 2. How can she be more attuned to her spiritual self?
her mission in this life is to make sure that she reincarnates in another lifetime.
How can she be more attuned to her spiritual self? 3. She has been feeling the presence of death recently. Does it mean that her time is near? Can you ask the council about this? Elsie. To answer the first question, an elder is standing up and sending the following message to my mind. With love, assistance, and humility in learning,
Oh, these assholes.
you will become a healer. Take care in whatever you are doing right now. We are always here to provide whatever resources you need in order to accomplish your goal in life.
That is the biggest crock of crap. Okay, just think about that statement. We are here to provide you all the resources you need to be successful in this incarnation or your next one. It's all here. It's all here. Where are they? Where are they? Do you see them? Do you see them behind me? All right, 1-800 Matrix. All right, can you mind just stepping in and letting us all know what we're supposed to be doing? Since you are available to have all the resources, what about, the starving children? The traffic victims, all that stuff. All the abuse going on. We will give you all the tools necessary. Blah, blah, blah. Get the fuck out of here. See this BS? It's such BS. And we hear this in other cases. It's the same style delivery and connection and BS narrative that's being put out there. And, Hummy goes really good with pita. Hummus. Or Hummy.
We are always here to provide whatever resources you need in order to accomplish your goal in life.
They're so nice.
To address question number 2, the teacher assumes the role of providing the answer. Be humble and seek your learning as if you were a little girl.
Be humble with Hummy.
Trust that the little girl, or the little voice within you, will guide you toward a deeper attunement to the spiritual realm. A third elder, who appears as an imposing goddess-like figure, answers the third question. She states that there is no death, except on the conscious level. The transition between the conscious and unconscious level marks the concept of death. As souls, we do not die, but merely shed the bodily form. The thoughts of death are actually one's own perception from earthly energy. Be at peace with your surroundings, Elsie, and you will be happy. 2 months after the LBL session, a very different sounding Elsie phoned me and thanked me for the assistance I had provided. This is what she reported to me. She is now very happy and at peace with herself. She has taken up a course in energy medicine and has vowed to use her learning to help others. She even comments that it feels as if she was always destined to learn, for she understands the energy work much better than anyone else in her study group.
Oh, yeah.
She can now face her metaphysical teacher with clearer understanding. She knows he is her soulmate and that they need each other to see the greater light. Perhaps most importantly, she no longer experiences any dreams about her mother. Her LBL experience has comforted her and clarified her understanding. She remembers clearly the messages from the soul that was her mother, and also from the council member who entreated her to understand that death is a conscious perception, and that the nature of the soul is eternal indeed.
All right, my friend. So, going to be taking a break here for a moment. So, be back here in about 5 or 6 minutes, somewhere around there. And thanks for stopping by. Please consider hitting the like button in the meantime, and take a stretch break, and see you shortly. Thanks so much. All right. Just as a reminder, this channel is for educational or perhaps entertainment purposes only, whichever the law would prefer. It's always important to do your own research and come up with your own conclusions. And also want to let you know about I have a backup channel here on YouTube, also an Odysee and a Rumble, where we multi-stream every stream on the main channel here on YouTube, Odysee and Rumble. And it's a good way, just in case something does happen here, that there are some backup alternatives like those platforms. And of course, the YouTube backup channel. I also have the Truth in Gaming channel available here on YouTube, where it's casual gameplay and commentary, and it's also available on Rumble. I have an email list in case you want to sign up. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, where those are mainly used for notifications. And then there are memberships available both here on Odysee and YouTube, where if you want some extra content each month and access to a backlog of member streams, you're more than welcome to check those out. Your support's always appreciated but never expected. And if you're looking to contribute to the channel, there are YouTube super chats, Odysee hyper chats they call them, and then there's rumbles I think they call them, and I have Stream Elements and Stripe as an alternative as well. Stream Elements and Stripe take the least of all the platforms in terms of fees. So again, your support's always appreciated but never expected. I know we're living in tough times. Everybody's having difficulty. So, most of the information that you'll see here, anything that's urgently important in relation to researching the Soul Trap will never have a price attached to it. Okay. So we've got 2 more tracks to go, and then this series will be in the books. So let's get there. All right, headed into the next case.
31. A soulmate relationship back on track. By Celia Kakashki, Bendigo,
Same
Australia.
to you, my friend.
Specializes
Good
in
to see
clients releasing the past to live in the now through spiritual integration. Cassie is a married 36-year-old woman with no children. The reason she came for a Life Between Lives session was to gain more clarity and understanding of her life, both professionally and personally. Cassie explained that she had been married to her soulmate, James, for 3.5 years, and although she knew he was the right person for her, their relationship had issues. The following history contains a lot of personal details that the author feels are necessary to highlight the impact Cassie's LBL session had on her life. Cassie told me that several months after meeting, she and James had moved away from the city to a large country town, where a year later they married. Initially out of work and with no local friends, issues arose around James's loneliness. In the beginning, he would spend hours each day on the computer, exchanging emails in chat rooms, which, while Cassie was out of town studying, eventually escalated to his meeting an online female friend. Cassie found out about this meeting when, 5 months after their move, she retrieved a document from the trash on the computer and found a record of an online conversation. The conversation implied that not only had they met, but that it had been a sexual encounter. When James was confronted, Cassie could see guilt in his eyes, but he denied anything had happened. Cassie's prior relationships had included a man who cheated on her, and as a strong, intelligent woman, she vowed this would never happen again. Reinforced by a close relative telling her several times when she was a young girl that men could not be trusted, she found this to be a challenging situation. She honestly felt that James was her soulmate, yet this deep-seated fear that she was being cheated on and being made a fool of would not subside. It was around this time that Cassie and James's sexual relationship became very intermittent. As both were now busy working, this aspect of their marriage was ignored, as they were still an affectionate couple, always kissing, hugging, and laughing, and Cassie felt this was more important than intercourse itself.
Cassie also told me that once a month, James would go to a friend's house and get drunk. She didn't like this, but she felt that she was being demanding by putting conditions on his drinking. Following some of these binges, she would ask whether he was unhappy with his life in any aspect, as she felt that drinking in this way often meant the drinker was escaping reality. He said that he was happy and nothing was worrying him.
Cassie had worked on most of her own childhood issues, but James had not. His childhood was very traumatic and challenging, and when issues arose, he avoided dealing with them through fear of what would be uncovered. He had said before that if Cassie were not in his life, it would not be worth living, and had threatened suicide, which Cassie took seriously. James had been the first man she had ever truly loved. It was love at first sight. She literally took a step back when she first looked in his eyes. No one had ever opened her heart the way he did, made her laugh until she cried the way he did, or gave her the freedom to really express herself. But in the quiet times, her life was in turmoil. She found herself doubting who she was, what she thought she knew, their relationship, everything. Her shame at not being enough for him, guilt of not believing James when he said he would change, mistrusting anything he said, and the embarrassment of being made the fool were all too real for her.
Many times she thought it would be a lot easier to leave and find someone else, but then she would hear that counteractive voice saying, "But you know he's the one for you."
It was now time for Cassie's LBL session. Cassie is a highly kinesthetic person who is sensitive and emotional. She arrived for her session excited and looking forward to what we would uncover. Her journey back to her most recent past life was a short, emotional experience. Her soul consciousness experienced its incarnation as a male fetus, Tom, who had miscarried at 26 weeks gestation. The mother was Joy, Cassie's maternal grandmother in her current life. Tom joined the fetus in Cassie's most recent past life to help Joy's growth as a young woman then.
Oh, yeah.
Tom explained, "There was something Joy's soul had asked me to do in order to give her the escalated learning she had requested from losing a child. Even though he knew that this was what Joy wanted, it was a very sad experience. He expressed the depth of his love for his mother, and he needed a few moments to comfort her because Tom and Cassie are the same soul. Then, after that brief past life in a fetus, his soul, who I will now call CS for Cassie's soul, flew up into the spiritual realm. CS was greeted by her guide, and the emotions were overwhelming. Cassie sat there with her hand on her heart, rivers of tears flowing down her cheeks with the love she felt while being embraced by her guide. Several times she told me to wait or shushed me when I tried to ask what was happening. It was obvious that Cassie just wanted to enjoy being in the moment, so I allowed her that freedom. At times, I put my hand on her arm to reassure her and was able to feel those strong feelings of love myself.
Editor's note. When working with hypnosis subjects who are visualizing spiritual events in the afterlife, LBL facilitators must proceed with caution. Pacing, tempo, and cadence are important for many reasons, including allowing the client time to finish reporting on what they are seeing before moving on to the next question. New students of LBL facilitation do not realize that often clients see more than they report about the spirit world. For many in the trance state, the afterlife is a sacred existence for their soul.
After she was greeted by her guide, James's soul came forward. He is her primary soulmate, and she described their current life as their celebration life, in which all 4 members of her soul group are coming together in the same family. One of the souls was that of Joy, Tom's mother, Cassie's maternal grandmother.
One sec, I'm going to back this up just a little bit.
Do not realize that often clients see more than they report about the spirit world. For many in the trance state, the afterlife is a sacred existence for their soul.
After she was greeted by her guide, James's soul came forward. He is her primary soulmate, and she described their current life as their celebration life, in which all 4 members of her soul group are coming together in the same family.
Okay, so part of the soul group is coming together in the same family.
Tom's mother, Cassie's maternal grandmother, and the other was Cassie's nephew, Chaz, with whom she has a strong affinity. Joy had died when Cassie was a child, and CS received confirmation that Joy's soul would return, this time as a daughter to Cassie and James. Part of CS's reward for coming as Tom was that they would eventually incarnate as a family group. The last time they all incarnated together in a close family group was far back in time. Although soulmates, the souls of Cassie and James had not been together in life recently, because their growth required working in separate areas. Their shared spiritual love, however, remained constant. This was a very emotional reunion with her 3 soul group members. CS reiterated that James and Cassie's current incarnation is a celebration of their past lifetimes of individual hard work. She explained that both Cassie and James had difficult starts in their current lives to give them the skills and experiences they needed. But once that learning was in place, it would all be good. We experienced several stops in the spirit realm, including a place like a laboratory in which CS works with energy. The energy work involves combining emotional energy for healing in an equation of sorts. The combination of love and laughter heals most people, but different types of love and different qualities of humor provide different healing results. This suited Cassie's current personality perfectly. That and the fact that her group was all about fun, laughter, and having pleasure while working in the lab on different projects. During this period in the spirit realm, CS experienced the place of body and life selection and 2 visits to her council of elders. Each council visit allowed us to explore the reasons behind many developments in her current life. Cassie was reassured by her council during now-time therapy that she is doing well, that everything is as it should be, and that love and trust are all she needs.
Oh, come
When
on.
I asked if any of the council displayed an item of significance, she said that one wore a medallion showing a cougar bearing its claws and roaring.
That sounds about right. A predator. Talk about symbolism, rearing its ugly head in front of our faces. Unbelievable.
She replied, "It stands for courage. I need to be tough if I need to."
You hearing how they're framing that? Wow. That's all I gotta say. I'm rewinding that.
When I asked what that meant, she replied, "It stands for courage. I need to be tough, to be strong and ready to fight if I need to, to fight for who I am." This cougar symbol has inspired and represented CS during a number of incarnations in which a tough fight and the need to stand up for herself and her beliefs has been necessary.
Editor's note. Spiritual signs, symbols, and emblems that are displayed by Council of Elders to the souls who appear before them carry very special meanings and messages.
If anything, the council revealed who they are in this moment. But yet they're like equating it with her. No. The symbol is that they are the predators. That's the real symbol.
CS said that she chose Cassie's body, with its high intellect and a high emotional state, to help her learn balance between mind and body. This was the heaviest body she had ever chosen in terms of size, and the choice was made to help her remain physically grounded while learning emotional and intellectual balance. Cassie finally understood the reason she was experiencing these extremes of calmness and overexcitement. Cassie came out of the session highly charged, full of life, love, positivity, and that wonderful knowing that accompanies the soul truth that is LBL. As I looked into her eyes, I saw that about her she had a real sense of peace and calm, an experience she said she has never felt before. CS had obviously decided that, once Cassie had experienced her LBL, it was time for a fast-track life change, mainly on a personal level, which Cassie reported to me 4 months after her session. Since confirming that James was her soulmate, that their relationship was supposed to be, and that this was a celebration life, she relaxed and began to trust more. She let go of the past, of the things he had done, and began to look forward to the future. It all seemed perfect, but there was more learning in store, all of which was made possible from experiencing her soul perspective.
There was more learning to be had, my friends. A lot more learning. Is Kathy ready? Kathy's got another 1,000 lifetimes brewing in the chamber.
The LBL session, Cassie discovered yet more apparent infidelities on James's part, and again had to deal with his overindulgence with alcohol.
Welcome back to life. Welcome back to the real world with your horrible husband. Jesus. Oh boy, that's going to probably knock the wind out of your sails. Like, you go from like this loving, like, oh, you're a cougar, you're a warrior and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, oh, back to the cheating husband. What a transition.
Had to deal with his overindulgence with alcohol. Her reaction this time was to calmly remove herself from the situation and the environment they shared.
Well, that's good.
Although the concern remained that he would try to kill himself, she felt a strong, overwhelming sense of calm and comfort, reassured that all was as it was. Despite repeated fears over the following days that she was being too cruel, these thoughts were always instantly replaced by an inner sense of calm and a deep-seated trust and confidence in the process. This came with a sense of being grounded, and Cassie was constantly reminded that she had chosen this particular body to perform exactly that role. She refused an initial attempt by James at reconciliation, and this surprised her because she found she could do this with love and peace, no anger or hurt feelings at all. It felt like direct input from her soul. However, Cassie did feel a sense of confusion based on the fact that she had been told in her LBL that this was supposed to be a celebration life for them, and it didn't seem very celebratory at this time. Cassie had taken off her wedding ring, and for all intents and purposes was looking at a life without James as her partner. After a while, Cassie felt strong enough to write James a detailed letter, encouraging him to explore his own childhood experiences and outlining her own strict boundaries for their relationship. She expressed that if he didn't want to face his issues and wanted to stay the same, that was okay, but then he could not be in a relationship with her. They met up and talked about Cassie's relationship boundaries, and James added some of his own. He wanted to face up to the fact that he had been sexually molested as a child, and also to stop binge drinking. When Cassie expressed her fear that he would try to kill himself when she...
Boy, I wonder if the drinking has anything to do with the abuse.
The fact that he had been sexually molested as a child, and also to stop binge drinking. When Cassie expressed her fear that he would try to kill himself when she had left, he described how he had actually almost died. The night he had attempted reconciliation, he was in the city staying with his family who have substance dependency issues. He didn't want to stay there, as that was a part of the life he no longer wanted, so he left without anywhere to go. It was a stormy night, and he parked under a tree. A short time later, he looked up, and the tree was wobbling. His instincts told him to move the car, which he did, and as he looked in his rear mirror, the tree fell where his car had been. With the enhanced understanding given by her visit to the spirit realm, Cassie felt this demonstrated that both James and his soul were making a choice. He had the choice to stay there and die, or to move and go on with life. He had made the choice to live, and with that was the choice to go back into the trauma of his past and work through it. Cassie felt that suicide was no longer an option for him. If he had wanted an out, he would have taken it. She expressed her belief that this was the choice he had made, and that if he didn't work through his issues now, she believed he would come back in another life and have suicide issues again. Cassie also came to the realization that even though this was supposed to be their celebration life, free will always plays a part.
Okay, so this was supposed to be their celebration life. So that means that this is the interpretation. It's supposed to be, right? But it wasn't. Surprise, surprise. You come to Earth and, all sorts of shit starts to happen. Your future husband gets abused as a child, But remember what's happening here. All of this is, well, not all, but a lot of it is planned in the pre-birth planning phase before you even get here, right? You can have this scenario play out, you can have this scenario play out, but generally your life is going to kind of fall in this general concept. Yes, you have free will. Yes, your husband, boyfriend, soulmate, whatever has free will, but they also have their life script that's intertwined with yours. The chance of meeting is pretty high. The chance of getting married, being together is very high. But again, let's ask the question. would the soulmate, the husband, the boyfriend have abused substances if they weren't sexually abused as a child? I don't know, but I would say that the chances are pretty high that they are going to, if they've gone through that. There's a clear connection between many types of abuse and substance abuse later on in life. It's a fact. And if you somehow make it out of that not doing substances, and numbing yourself from the pain, then you're one of the lucky ones. But the chances are there's some sort of connection there. Not every time, but good chance there is. I mean, I know, for me, I fell into that, and I'm not perfect by any means, but when I was younger, I was a train wreck, really, horrible decision making, and involved with all sorts of substances, right? But I couldn't come to terms with some of the things that I went through. And that was just me. But when I started looking into it, trying to find answers as to why I was so messed up and trying to numb out in life, I realized that this is a common thing that happens with many of abuse victims, right? I'm not going to go into details. At some point I will down the road, but the point is that it's just the way it is, right? And the system has a process that is set up to I've talked about this before, but like, for instance, if you go into therapy, right, you're trying to work this out within the system, right? Well, I've been to a number of therapists, including when I was young, trying to resolve this. And when you do it, the one thing I've found with every single therapist I've been with is they're obsessed, absolutely obsessed with rehashing all of the details week in and week out. It's like, this is the only thing going on in your life right now that matters. But, when does that stop? I don't know about any of you who have been in therapy and gone through, sexual or physical abuse, whatever, right? And trying to work within the confines of the system, the modern day system. Every single therapist that I've been with, they are obsessed with just discussing it every fucking week. How do you have any sense of normalcy if that is the expectation week in and week out? It's creepy. It's really creepy and messed up. Maybe it's just the individuals I ended up with, but it's like, if I was able to fast forward, like, let's say, 15, 20 years ahead and had some of the knowledge that I have today, or even 5-10 years ago, right? And be able to apply it to my younger self, I could have done so much better for myself. But that type of information isn't allowed. The things that can really help you, not allowed. It's so fucked up. It's so screwed up. So it's like you have an extension of well over a decade where you could have done alternative things to help yourself. But because those things are shit on or looked at as crazy or, anything alternative looked at as nuts, like, no, not allowed, and that's something you're brought up with. Despite questioning things. Like, it's like, oh, well, this is the path. The system lays this path out, and it helps all these other people, or at least that's what's being claimed. And then you come to find out, well, everyone's different. Everyone, for one thing that might work for others might not work for many, for you or me or whatever, right? It's so fucked up. So fucked up. Anyways. So yeah, I mean, I think substance abuse and, sexual or physical abuse, they go hand in hand. Later, they are things that will, abuse of drugs or alcohol will manifest themselves when you become older. And there has to come an inner drive within to say, whoa, I can't live like this every single day. And then, the haze begins to go away, and you make the best of it. Not perfect, but, it is what it is. Anyways, I'm rambling too much. It's just fucked up.
And that if he didn't work through his issues now, she believed he would come back in another life and have suicide issues again. Cassie also came to the realization that even though this was supposed to be their celebration life, free will always plays a part. James had a choice whether or not he would deal with his past issues. If he chose to not do the work necessary to get him to their celebration time, Cassie knew she would find someone else to share her life with. Cassie also intuitively knew that if they were not together, their daughter, soul group companion Joy, would not be born to either of them. That she was only coming because it was their celebration life together. Cassie's soul gave her the reassurance and courage to know that it would all be okay, and that ultimately they would both be fine, no matter what choices they made. The Cougar Medallion became a wonderful reminder for Cassie to be tough and strong and true to herself.
Excuse me.
Cassie spent time meditating, connecting with her soul, and trusting the answers she received. She recognized that the timing for everything had been perfect. They were looking at starting a family, and this was an issue that would have to be resolved before they brought a child into the world. Also, she knew that it was because James felt safe and secure with her that these issues had come up now. Until they met, he did not have security or love, and this relationship with her had given him the opportunity to look into his confusion about his sexuality. The feelings that came up when they were intimate, the pleasure of orgasm linked with guilt and shame from when he was molested, would have subconsciously led him to avoid intimacy. Cassie's direct access to her soul gave her not only a deep sense of calm and comfort, but also a deep knowing that all was as it was for a reason, and she was at peace. It helped her as she was almost able to dissociate from her human pain and float above it while still looking at the world through her own eyes and staying grounded. She was surprised at the inner strength and confidence she'd felt at a time that for most people would have been devastating. Prior to experiencing her LBL, Cassie believes that she would have left James, run away, and started afresh, definitely an easier option. The doubt, mistrust, and hurt would have surpassed any hope they had for the future. However, she found that the knowledge she received through her LBL session that this was their celebration life, as well as the direct access to her soul, gave Cassie the strength to overcome her fragile human emotions with such love and calmness. It truly was a blessing. James moved back with Cassie while undergoing counseling with specialists in sexual assault. Their relationship continues to slowly grow, and Cassie sees more and more of the man that is James emerging. Their celebration life has begun.
Celebration life has begun. Yeah, thankfully, Sky, 5,000-foot Jesus didn't come through. Or is that 50,000? Oh, 5,000-foot Jesus didn't come through in any of my moments. Not to say I didn't try. See, that's why it's just such bullshit. Such bullshit. I'm sorry you aren't feeling good, Sky. All right, so Emil said, before we go on to the next case, which I believe is the last, right? Yep, next one is the last one. So just before we go into the next case, Emil says, I had a therapist tell me once that I was dealt one of the worst effed up hands one can have. Wow. And regardless, clearly for a therapist to say that, I'm sure you had quite a struggle, Emil, and my heart goes out to you, my friend. I'm sorry. David says, Mark, we are here for you. This is an energy thing. I am completely convinced. Change the environment, change the person. I am sorry for what you had to go through. My wife, same experience. Yeah, I mean, you nailed it right there. It's like, it's absolutely an energy thing, and changing the environment is crucial. Absolutely crucial. It's almost everything. You have to be able to first be honest with yourself. For instance, I was in a very codependent relationship. This is when I was really young, and two of them actually. But we, the crazy thing is like we both, in both scenarios, we were abuse victims. I don't like to even say victims, but it is what it is, right? And so when you're really young, like, when you're in high school or your early 20s and in those types of relationships, it's like you're trying to find yourself, make your way in the world. You're just kind of thrown into it, even though we technically are not developed fully until the age of 25, which is ridiculous when you think about, well, you're an adult when you're 18 and you're thrown in there. Now, some people can function no problem and go out into the world, and, I function barely, but I did. Because you have no choice. You're thrown out into the world. It is what it is, and that's it. But like when you're dating others who have dealt with abuse in their background, and like you bring substances into the mix, it's not a good combination. And so I did just that. Like, I had to change my environment. I had to get out of. I got out of one relationship, went into another, didn't realize what I was getting into, and then you fall in love, and so and then you realize, oh shit, I'm going from one to the other, and then I got out of that one, and then changing the environment. I moved all the way across the country to just start anew, all new faces, everything, and that was one of the best decisions I ever made at that time. Was still really fucked, but it is what it is, right? I mean, you're still trying to get through this. I mean, this is again late, high school years into early 20s, into almost mid 20s. So it's rough. It's rough. And, when you have limited options, but then like you eventually start to discover more knowledge and more ways of trying to handle yourself. For instance, you realize that, there's this, it's not just Freud, but there's this other guy named Carl Jung. I mean, and on and on. I mean, there's so many different things out there to pick and go through, and there's different spiritual practices, and then like you just start slowly learning and changing your environment, changing your belief system, using what works and throwing out the rest, fine-tuning your discernment on everything, especially in relation to the whole experience here in general, and things get better. But there's a reason why I think 18 is the cutoff. If you think about it, especially here in the U.S., I know it's not the same case everywhere. Everywhere has their different laws and rules, but I think a really interesting example here is, okay, you can, in the U.S., you can get your license when you're 16. I mean, you can get your permit at 15, or in some places, you can get your license at 16. At 18, you can start, you're technically an adult by the law. Legally, by the letter of the law, you're an adult. And then at 21 is when you can, but 21, that's when you can drink. Explain that. The other thing here in the U.S., which is very common, is you can't rent a car until you're 23. Most car rental places, with the exception if you're actually flying into an airport and have a round trip ticket, you can't rent a car. Now, maybe things have changed. I mean, I'm basing this off of my life, This is a while ago. But the point is if you think about, okay, you can't drink till you're 21, can't rent a car until you're 23, but yet, you're fully an adult, like at 18. And the reason why I think some of that also is a big part of it is military, right? The military knows that by 18, the recruitment process, you're not fully developed yet. So they still have an opportunity to come in, yank you, brainwash you, and get you to join their agenda. By the time you're 25 or even 21, I mean, the difference between the age of 18 and 21 is massive. It's massive. In maturity level, just think about even the age difference between when you were like 14 and 15 and 18 or 17. And then 18 to like 21, 22. Huge difference. Massive difference. The system knows it. And that's why these weird age things are put into place so that we can be exploited. We can be exploited. The whole thing, like the fact that it is known, it's proven that, the brain is not fully developed till 25, and yet everyone's classified as an adult by 18. That should say a lot. That should say a lot. And it doesn't take much to be thrown off and, with trauma or any sort of thing that may happen, and kind of where you need that extra time between like 18 and 25, right? I mean, I wouldn't say I needed it till 25, but pretty goddamn close. Pretty goddamn close. So anyways, enough rambling. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. All right. Last track.
32. Finding Laura. Recovering a Lost Identity. By Georgina Cannon, Toronto, Canada. International trainer, author, school clinic director, and mind-body-spirit clinician using hypnosis and regression therapies. For most of us, memories of prior lives are hidden away deep within the subconscious. Yet, with a skilled facilitator using hypnotic trance, they can emerge so that previously diffuse and hidden memories may crystallize and resurface, bringing wisdom and understanding to this current lifetime. Many folks journey from life to life with no conscious knowledge of the previous life or the person they used to be.
Hey, Mom.
And yet
good to
we
see
live
you.
full, mostly complete lives without that knowledge.
Imagine, though, what it would be like to be in this lifetime having shifted from one identity to the next without the conscious memory of who you are and how you lived the first part of your life. This chapter describes just such an incredible experience and how past life and between lives regressions truly helped one particular young woman.
This is the extraordinary story of Laura, who at age 17 found herself wandering the streets of Toronto with no knowledge of who she was or how she had come to be there. Fortunately, a young woman from Quebec who was waiting at a bus stop saw Laura crying and alone. The woman asked if she could help, and on hearing the story, she took Laura home for some tea, something to eat, and a phone call to the police to see if there had been any accidents or people reported missing. Nothing. No one. This wonderful young woman gifted Laura with a temporary home in which she stayed for a few months, living under an assumed identity and frightened about her past. She wondered who she had been and what terrible thing she had done that needed to be totally blocked from her consciousness. She scanned the papers daily for reports of missing persons, but none matched her description. From that time until she came to see me more than 40 years later, Laura remained in complete ignorance of her true identity. A few months into her new, mysterious life, Laura met her future husband, Don. She had become a ballroom dancing teacher, and he was a new student. They felt an instant connection, as though they had known one another in a previous life. Through decades of their marriage, Don was a rock, supportive and determined to help his wife discover her true identity. They explored all avenues for identification discovery, including fingerprinting, Interpol, the police, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, detectives, lawyers, and the Internet. "At least I knew I didn't have a criminal record," she joked. They couldn't travel beyond Canadian borders, though, as Laura had no citizenship documentation or health history. They bought a house in the suburbs, danced their way through the evenings at the local nightclubs, and spent weekends and holidays on canoe trips, camping out deep in the wilderness to the sounds of howling wolves. For more than a decade, they lived the Grizzly Adams lifestyle, building their own house in heavily forested Crown land 3 miles away from the nearest trapper neighbor, canning vegetables on a wood-burning stove, fishing for bass and snaring rabbits. Often they would ski home with a couple of rabbits for the stew pot. They lived a happy, fulfilling life together for 35 years. Finally, Don confided the secret to a lawyer friend who suggested hypnotic regression. Out of fear for what she might find, Laura waited another 9 years before considering hypnotherapy. Around that time, a chiropractor friend told them about a lecture I had given on past life regression therapy. Don called me immediately. Laura was 60 when she first came to see me. Laura and Don came into the clinic for their first meeting and hypnosis session. In her own words, she wanted to know, "Who am I and where am I from?"
That's a great
She was
question.
concerned about what she might have done and wanted to know whether she had a family or whether she'd hurt someone. She also considered that it might be significant that she was terrified of riding in cars. I said I couldn't promise anything, but that I had success in the past helping people to recover lost memories. However, we couldn't get started right away. She was prone to occasional epileptic seizures and high blood pressure, so I asked that we have a letter from her medical doctor before doing any hypnosis. Although there was no formal hypnosis at that first meeting, I gave her a hypertension release CD because I felt it might allow her to practice relaxing to the sound of my voice. 2 weeks later, Laura came to the clinic with the doctor's letter, ready to experience past life regression. Maybe she would find out more about herself that way, and whether she had known Don in a previous lifetime. It seemed a good idea, as on the way back we could explore the re-entry into this life and maybe get some childhood clues. But although she experienced 2 very detailed lives, there was no information about her current lifetime. A month later, Laura came into the office worried and scared. Scheduled for an angiogram and echocardiogram, she was frightened she might die without knowing who she was. We talked about it being much too soon for her to die. "You have lots of dance teaching left to do." And she agreed. I facilitated a regular hypnosis session using mind-body healing techniques and future pacing so that she could see and experience herself celebrating Christmas. I connected her again with her guides and asked them to stay with her during the procedures. It was almost a year later before Laura returned to the clinic. It turned out that she had needed open-heart surgery. She told me, "I'm ready to find out now." I asked and received permission to do something different. I facilitated her back directly into the womb and then beyond into the interlife, where she literally zoomed up to the gates. It looks like white mist, but friendly, not frightening. And there's people moving around in the mist, moving toward me. I feel this overwhelming love, and
What a
it's strange how
surprise.
light and free I feel.
Same old playbook. Same old playbook.
I can feel them as well as see them. They're surrounding me with a feeling that it's hard to explain. Beautiful blue colors and gold and pink. There's a color I haven't seen before. I don't know what to call it. I feel like I'm buzzing, like I'm vibrating, and I realize I'm like they are. I'm free. Laura started to laugh and became very animated. I was concerned she would bring herself out of hypnosis, but the laughter turned to gentle tears as she kept repeating, "It's all so beautiful. So gentle and beautiful." This was a profound and emotional time for Laura. Released from her physical body, she realized she was more than just that. Reluctant to move away from that space and from this group, she lingered for a long time at the gateway with her greeters, who appeared to be both her soul circle and her wisdom elders, as she called them. As we asked the purpose of this life struggle, she discovered she had chosen this lifetime to learn patience and forgiveness, and was strongly urged to join parents who were frightened when they knew they were pregnant.
Yes, strongly urged. It's like, when is enough enough, right? I mean, where's the dividing line? When have you learned enough in this limited form of consciousness, this experience where you're cut off from almost everything about your essence, is limited as you can get? When is enough enough? How many lifetimes? 100? 10 lifetimes? 50 lifetimes? 100? 1,000? 10,000? A million? How many lifetimes is enough?
Yes, and was strongly urged to join parents who were frightened when they knew they were pregnant. As we probed more, it became very clear that her group was intent on giving her the peaceful soul connection she had lost over the years, and considered everything else secondary or not important at that time. Every time we tried to move forward, we were told, not yet. We couldn't get any more information from the group about her current life.
Not yet.
They were more interested in letting her reconnect with her true self. So much so that when we asked after a while if it was time to move forward to another station in the interlife, we were told that your learning for now is complete. I was concerned that although Laura had this powerful experience, it still hadn't given her the information she needed. As we slowly journeyed back from the interlife to re-enter the womb, there was a sudden jolt as her vibration lowered, and she encountered her moment of conception. She heard voices fighting and felt the energy of discord from that moment. The beauty and peace in her face and aura had disappeared, and her energy became fractured as she watched and felt herself growing toward birthing.
That's right. You got to be, you're fractured. Your essence is disconnecting, even though it's already technically been disconnected because you've bought into the bullshit that you've reached a point of working out pre-birth planning. If you make it to the point of pre-birth planning, or even interact, or even the light, if you've made it to that point, you're pretty much, you've given yourself over to the Matrix. I know it sounds harsh and like it's not defeatist though. It's just a emphasis on how important it is to stand up for yourself and not allow the illusions and the deceptions to seep on through you, or to get your attention to the point where you're curious and like, oh, well, what's that flickering light in the distance? Or, why am I, kind of interested in this or that? Oh, look, there's great grandma Janeway. I mean, it's just, it's all got to go. The connections have to go, leading up to and at the time of death. Not now, I'm not saying this moment, but I'm saying it's just important to realize what you need to do for you as an individual, not for the collective, not for the soul group, not for, those that you miss or that you want to be reunited with. It's like, this is a one individual show. Nothing more, nothing less. And allowing outside influence to come in and dictate, or at least lead you somewhere where they can dictate you and represent that, like, oh, this is what you got to work on and blah, blah, blah. Well, then, you know, the gig's up. That's it. You've fallen for another round of the bullshit. So, but you're so much better than that. Like, this information that we talk on this channel about, it should empower you. It should be the most self-empowering information that you ever run across. At least I hope it is. Because you shouldn't ever feel defeated. You should feel empowered by seeing the means and methods by which this whole thing kind of runs. And I'm not saying I have all the answers, because I certainly do not. But what you do get out of this is self-empowerment. At least that's what I hope. That's all I want, is like to just, we all should be self-empowered within our footprint as an individual so that we can progress out of this whole thing. Remember, we got to think bigger. We got to think beyond this whole experience. That's the biggest thing I think we lack. And I know I've talked about that a lot, but really that's the big one. We think in limited terms. We think, just think about love and hate and joy and happiness and anger and depression and anxiety and all these things. Just think about those things, right? These are feelings. These are emotions that we all have or have had at some point in our life, right? So if those are things that you can connect with, the reason you're connecting with those in this moment or even outside of this body, that, you know, in the astral or what have you, those very well could be all things in relation to the overall matrix system, right? What if we're putting label on things like love and happiness and joy and depression and anxiety and hate and anger and all these things, right? Duality, right? But outside of here, what if there's like a whole host of other things that you can connect with that have nothing to do with this? These are emotions and feelings and sensory experiences that we have because we are familiar with them. But thinking beyond all this and saying, oh, well, you know, well, what else is out there? Why should we just limit ourselves to such a small thinking existence when there is almost guaranteed, I'll say it, there is guaranteed to be much more than just this whole matrix system. And again, when I say matrix system, I'm not just referring to Earth. I'm referring to the astral and everything under the umbrella of however many realms are involved with this whole shit show, right? It's not just Earth. Think bigger. That's all I'm trying to say. It's like I know it's hard to think bigger when you have nothing to gauge it off of or nothing to compare it with, but that's exactly how they get away with this bullshit, by blocking us off from not being able to eventually realize what else is out there. But, you know, as far as like talking about, oh, well, you know, we'll do this or that, you know, and go explore other realms, I'm open to all of that. But as far as like what I'm concerned with right now, it's liberation, sovereignty, liberation, non-interference, getting the fuck out of here at the time of natural death, not being messed with, doing my own thing, and then making an informed decision based on the collective of who and what I am and what I'm capable of from that point forth. And hell, maybe I'll stay in my bubble forever, for eternity. I don't know. I'm probably not. I'm going to be honest. Probably not. But, you know, maybe some of us will meet up, right? And hang out, and we'll be able to create our own type of realm or universe or multiverse that's like based around not being toxic and parasitic in nature, right? Those things have to exist. I just can't fathom anyone who has experienced this place, or maybe not at all. Like, there's got to be other beings like us out there that don't want anything to do with this type of bullshit. There has to be. And to think that it's not out there is just ridiculous. It has to exist. I don't know in what form. I don't know how everything would work, but those types of things have to exist. So why not think on a bigger level like that as something to look forward to at some point? Not immediately, right after you leave here, but at some point, these are types of things that we can put in the back of our head and feel pretty comfortable about being a possibility. Now, that may not be for everyone, right? Some true essence beings out there may just want to go the solo journey the rest of their existence. But is that really feasible? I don't know. Maybe it is. I mean, I'm certainly not going to knock it, but at the same time, it's like, I think inevitably, if we ended up here, clearly, we like to explore and experience different things. So I think there's a lot to be said, even just for us being here, that like your curiosity is like ingrained in many of us, right? And it's probably ingrained in almost every creator being out there, right? So, anyways, rambling too much. It's, there's a lot to look forward to, but at the same time, get to the point where you are unrelenting, right? And in your desire, you're in your firm, unrelenting intention for non-interference, sovereignty, liberation, creating your own realm that's impenetrable and never looking back. And then from that point forth, figure it out. I don't have the answers in that area. Nobody does. But, everyone, I get comments all the time like, oh, well, what would you do from this point forth? And, like, what am I supposed to do once I'm in my own realm? I don't know. I think we just need to figure out what we need to figure out for ourselves as individuals. We do. Like, we need to figure out our strengths and our weaknesses, where we can be exploited. I mean, that's really important. We're being heavily exploited while we're here. How did it all, let's take an analysis of how we got in here in the first place, why we came here. What did we agree to when we kind of, signed the terms of service, or what agreed, used our intention for the terms of service before we got here. What was involved with all that? Like, we need to take a serious accounting of who we are, what we're capable of, and where we could potentially screw up in the future, and make sure that those types of things don't ever happen again. That's all. Anyways, that's it. Kind of rambling.
Current early life. Those first years were uneventful. Herself and her mother, and at age 2, she recalled a baby sister. I'm the big girl. I have a new baby sister. By the age of 10, Laura recalled a baby brother, and we live in a place called Georgia. My dad's name is Barry Watson, not his real name. I don't know him.
At this point, Laura became
Susie,
excited
Sherlock,
and brought
and
herself
Watson
out of hypnosis. I suggested that she relax back into hypnosis and continue the journey so that we could find out more, which she did.
At 14 years old, Laura abreacted, sobbing and shaking. I don't like being 14. I don't want to be 14. We regressed back a year. 13-year-old Laura talked about moving to Detroit, Michigan, and being in a house with mom, sister, and brother. We have to move. She has to find a job. So tired. So tired. Mom is worried. We need more money. I wish I was old enough to help. All we eat are beans and potatoes. I'm so tired. Again, I tried to move forward, but was rejected. 14-year-old Laura didn't want to remember.
Editor's note. Under normal circumstances, It might seem that Laura would be a perfect candidate for desensitization of the traumatic event that occurred to her between ages 14 to 17. After all, this evidently induced her amnesia. Assumptions could be made that this client suffered severe physical and emotional pain during this period, causing her mind to shut down to all memories of her past as a means of self-preservation. Some psychotherapists might argue that Laura will never be whole until she cognitively comes to terms with this damaging 4-year period in her life. However, Laura had a perfect right to refuse such specific therapy. The author of this story has told me that Laura felt her future happiness depended on her not unblocking these teenage years. Certainly, she learned a great deal about her current identity by the skillful application of hypnosis. But what is more important here is that through additional spiritual regression, Laura discovered and then connected with her true soul self. It should be noted that all the karmic implications of the trauma she has suffered in this life will be revealed to her in the afterlife.
After a gentle healing from her guides, Laura emerged from hypnosis full of excitement and jumped up from the chair and ran out into reception. "Don, I know my father's name." They were both so excited. After a quick hug, they rushed out of the door to go home and get on the internet. In the past, Don had regularly searched the internet for clues to Laura's identity. Weekly, he looked through all the missing persons websites for newly posted photographs and descriptions in the hope of finding something about Laura as a child. Now that he had names, he could start searching genealogy websites. On Gen Circles, he found a Barry Harold Watson born in a small town in Georgia. This Barry Harold Watson listed children with the same first names. Don kept checking. He found Barry Watson's obituary, which listed the same names for his children. Excited but cautious, he wanted to be sure it was the right family. Concentrating on the brother, as he guessed that the sisters would be married and have different surnames, he worked through phone numbers of listed Barry Watsons across the United States and started making phone calls, but no luck.
Oh, they should have looked up elementary.
And posted a notice on the Cousin Connect website. Unexpectedly, and to Laura and Don's elation, a month later, a response was posted. "Hi, I am the sister who Laura is seeking. My home phone number is..." It was deeply moving to them to know that a family member had been searching for Laura. After many years of wondering, worrying, and speculating, Laura would at last be reunited with her lost self and lost family. It was an exhilarating, wonderful moment. After the initial exciting phone calls, DNA tests proved that Laura had indeed found her sister and family. Laura is adamant about staying in the now. She doesn't want to delve into the time of the lost years, but rather relish what she has discovered for today and tomorrow. Mystery is not an issue for Laura. Her life has been positively transformed. She now has a passport, a family, and an identity, with dual citizenship in the United States and Canada. She has traveled to the United States to meet her family. She is one of 6. She now travels to Europe and literally anywhere she wants to. She is so grateful that every time she obtains another piece of documentation, like her United States citizenship, Canadian immigrant's papers, or a travel visa, she phones me in excitement to say thank you. Although I regularly facilitate past lives and interlife or life between lives sessions, this one will always have a special place in my heart. It is a testimony to the power of love, from the kind stranger who originally gave lost 17-year-old Laura a home, to the dedication and support of Laura's husband Don and the never-flinching loyalty of her sister, who in over 40 years never gave up the search to find her big sister.
Editor's note. On a conscious level, there are a limited number of people who may overcome amnesia of their past life existence without hypnosis. This ability is known as spontaneous recall, and while someone might be able to accomplish certain remembrances of their past lives, it is far more difficult with life between lives memories. For this sort of soul recovery, one needs a skilled LBL facilitator.
Okay, so there's like a little bit of marketing involved in that statement, obviously, but I think the statement in general is true. Put away the life between lives part. Think about the number of individuals that even come close to tapping into one of their past lives. And even that information that's contained within that past life is, even though it can be life-changing and helpful and get someone to have a better understanding about who and what they are in this lifetime, it's still a drop in the bucket in comparison to the grand scheme of things, right? So it's like, you know, when I get comments like, oh, well, you know, I've had, 10 past life regressions and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, I've got access to all this information. Well, no, you have access to a drop in the bucket of information when you compare it to your overall time within this matrix system. Like even Newton's saying, life between lives. The amount of access that you have to put things together is minimal. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason why the access is minimal. And that's so that you don't put the pieces together to figure out that you're being had, that you're being taken for a ride, and so that you don't realize your true power and who and what you are. So it's always the same playbook. You know, so there is nobody that can leave a comment or email me or put anything online that can say, oh, you know, I have complete recall of, you know, every single moment of every single lifetime, of every single life between lives, of every single interaction. No, those individuals do not exist. There is no such data point. Those types of claims, first off, are very, very far and few between. All right. So anyone who makes such claims, you should just immediately say bullshit. That's it. Period. The end. And then you cannot look at the collective of information, the collective of data that's out there, and just put all that to the side when you have like a handful or even multiple handfuls of individuals saying like, oh, I have access to some. Well, you know what? It's just not true. Just not true. And if for some reason they do have access to said information, and maybe it would be something that's accurate, well, my first instinct would be like, oh, well, they're a Matrix marketing department agent. What the hell else could they be? They are trying to convince me of something. Like, and then what does it do? It also elevates like guru status, you know, like, oh, you know, I'm above you and this and that. And it's like, no. Back up the truck, buddy. Get out of here. I'm not going to deal with it, right? You have to go where the information goes. And if the information is saying that 99.9% of the individuals out there do not make bolsterous claims that they have access to every single lifetime, like 5,000 lifetimes or even 100 lifetimes, and what they were doing in between lives before they came and back and reincarnated. If all that stuff is something that doesn't pop up regularly, and it doesn't, then your bullshit meter should be flying off the charts. Period. The end. That's it. I know sometimes like we want to fall for fanciful information and this and that. And you know what? Who knows? Maybe a number of the cases in this series were just that, right? And I think there were some that absolutely fell in that category. And I kind of alluded to them. Some of them, you know, I can't elaborate on, but you know, those who've been listening clearly will know what those cases were if you've been listening throughout the series. And as far as even past life regressions or life between lives and things like that, you know, it's data that's there. There is some, actually there's quite a bit that crosses over into other experiencers. So like we get further confirmation that connects the two. And putting Michael Newton aside, right? I mean, this stuff goes way back. Like we talked about the book. Hold on. Phantasms of the Living. I've talked about this book a lot, right? I mean, this book has examples in it, and this is from, I believe, if I remember correctly, like late 1800s, early 1900s during the spiritualist movement. And there's stuff that goes back even before then. And, you know, information in here and in many other books that have absolutely nothing to do with Michael Newton continue to point out the same type of stuff. We're being had. We're being tricked. It's all about love. It's all about spiritual growth and development and on and on and on. It's the same things over and over and over again. So it's... But nobody's saying like, oh, like I have access to everything and this and that. But no, those people are full of shit. Period. Point blank. The end. There has to be some sort of grounding when you're researching this topic because it's far out. And it's easy to want to believe in the stuff that is like, just like, whoa, I'm hanging on every word. And like, you know, they're talking about escaping from pods and all this type of stuff. Wink, wink. There's so many examples of stuff like that out there. You know, full unadulterated recall of information that doesn't match up with any of the other information. Why is that? Why is that? Why does information that happens to be very, very fairly consistent, and then you get, you know, stuff that's like way in the back of my room over here, you know, like, but it's like big, big, boisterous shit that comes out, and it's like, oh, really? Tell me more. Tell me more. Tell me more. What is that? So you're gonna believe the asshole in the back of the room? You're gonna believe that asshole? Or are you gonna believe all the information that's in the front that's telling you and showing you patterns? You have to keep a level head through all of this. You can't allow yourself to fall for the stuff that is fanciful. And again, some of the stuff that we discussed in the series very well may be. I think some of it could be. Or some of it is. Let's just say that. Some of it is. But in the first two books, I think a lot of that stuff is very accurate. I do. I think the first two books, Journey of Souls first, and then Destiny of Souls second, I think there's a lot of truth in those books. In this one, Newton has some individuals, mind you, Newton at this point, you know, became a worldwide name. It's only natural that there's further interference in certain narratives that are injected into this book after having two monstrous sellers, where Newton himself openly admits to interacting with his guides and the council and in collaboration with the book that was being written, or the books that were being written. Sorry, books, especially Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls, open admissions, right? So you get to this point, Memories of the Afterlife, you know, he sold millions of copies, and you have certain narratives from certain time periods and certain things that pop up regularly and want to be have an agenda attached to them, and well, lo and behold, there they are. So anyways, let's continue. We only have a few more minutes. I kind of went off on another tangent, but we're at the end of the series, so it was time. I'm sorry.
Laura's case was a more classic form of amnesia, with complete blockage of all memories from her current life. For that reason, this heartwarming story is quite unusual, in terms of both the broad therapeutic approach used to uncover the core of her existence, and then the final benefits Laura received in recovering much of her current identity. The use of hypnotherapy is a commanding tool in overcoming many forms of amnesic blocks by reaching into the unconscious mind. However, this does open up a larger philosophical issue about recovering our spiritual memories as a soul. Our work has been challenged by some people with the following question. If amnesia exists at birth to block our soul life on a conscious level, are we not tampering with a divine ethical plan by using hypnosis to break these blocks?
Oh, please.
My answer is that if hypnosis can open up the beauty of our afterlife or inner life experiences, then doesn't this give us an incentive to search for the truth about who we really are and where we came from?
No, as long as it's within the context of the Matrix allowed narratives. That's the bottom line.
This can open up the beauty of our afterlife or inner life experiences, then doesn't this give us an incentive to search for the truth about who we really are and where we came from? If we were not supposed to know about these truths, no amount of hypnosis, meditation, channeling, etc. could remove these blocks. In my view, each person in a deep altered state of consciousness sees what they are supposed to see as determined by their personal guides. Some people are more blocked than others, depending on such factors as age, state of development, karmic challenges in this life, and so forth. Finally, I believe there is another factor at work here. Why are amnesic blocks about our afterlife lessening in the 21st century from the use of advanced methodological discoveries in hypnosis? We live in a world more overpopulated today than ever before, resulting in a diminished identity of the individual. Add to this the greatest prevalence of chemical dependency of all time. Drugs cloud the progress of the soul. Perhaps this is the reason our guides and spiritual masters are allowing more information to be released about our spiritual path
masters
than ever before in human history. This concludes Memories of the Afterlife.
Well, we made it. We did it. We've made it through. And I kind of lost my mind in this one as I did in the first two. There are moments through these books that just cringe me beyond belief. They get me, and I'm sure many of you just fired up and just saying, why, right? Why this big dog and pony show? It makes no sense that, there is a collective out there of experiencers who pretty much all agree that we are creator beings and capable of amazing things. But yet, for some reason, there is this disconnect where the belief system is that we're here to learn and grow and expand here when we have access to more outside of here. Again, the memory wipe's an important part of all of this. It's the nail in the coffin, in my opinion. The fact that you can put information out there over and over and over that cross many experiencer types, and the narrative is consistent. We're here to learn. We're here to grow. We're here to work off karma, and on and on and on. If all that stuff is true, then why, oh why, are we memory wiped when we get here? How come we don't know where we came from, why we're here, where we are going, what we're supposed to be doing? What type of karma are we supposed to be atoning for, or making, or doing better to make sure that we don't do that again? All this stuff flies in the face of logic. And it's seen all over experiencer cases. It's not just life between lives. It's not just past life regressions or NDEs. It's all over the place. After death communication, shared death experiences. We can go on and on and on about the whole list that's there. And it's always the same thing. But yet, if you are to come here, like we all do, and you don't have a recollection of what you're supposed to be working on in order to better yourself and evolve, aka spiritual growth, then what the hell is the point? See, the logic falls apart in all of this. It falls apart. It doesn't make sense. And, you know, if it was just like a few things that would pop up here and there, and, you know, you can say, oh, well, you know, all right, well, maybe it's bullshit, right? But it's not. It pops up way too much. And if it's popping up that much, then the only logical question is to say that, well, how can we better ourselves? It doesn't make sense. And that I'm targeting, you know, my message to anyone who's new or otherwise on the fence about this information about the Soul Trap. This information is the most important thing you can run across. And even though my voice, my presentation style may not be for you, that's fine. That's cool. I get it, right? But there's also Wayne Bush at trickedbythelight.com and Sovereign Spirits. And there's also Dan at Overwatch Channel and OverwatchProject.com, Overwatch Project on Odysee. You know, don't let this information, don't let my style of delivery dissuade you from looking elsewhere. But I'm trying to provide trusted voices that you know, I think have done a lot of work in this field of exploring the Soul Trap. Wayne's website is a wealth of knowledge. You can spend month after month digging through that website, trickedbythelight.com. They tell us openly what's going on here. Everything is very transparent when you can see through their bullshit. But they also just pummel us with loads of bullshit so that we forget, so that we lose ourselves. They mix truth in with lies. Where they tell a lot of truth are in things like movies and TV and music, ancient scriptures. There's tons of truth out there that expose this place for what it is. And all I'm saying is, like, you know, if you're new or on the fence, please just, if you don't connect with my delivery, I get it. I know I'm kind of loud. I can be abrasive or, you know, my sarcasm isn't for everyone, but the sarcasm, you know, and the mocking and all that stuff, that's how I cope with this stuff, right? I don't think I'd be able to deliver the message about what I see going on out there and showing you where my path is taking me about this information if I wasn't able to be sarcastic and snappy and make fun of all this stuff, right? I mean, like, you have to laugh. You can't take life too seriously. I think it's really, really important to laugh. I really do. You know, that quote, laughter is the best medicine, is accurate. It really is. It can get you, it makes the day-to-day easier, right? So, again, I know my style isn't for everyone. I get that. And that's why, like, I consistently will recommend Wayne and Julie at Sovereign Spirits and trickedbythelight.com, or also Dan at Overwatch channel on YouTube, overwatchproject.com, and Overwatch Project on Odysee regularly, because I think it's important that other voices are out there talking about this. But as far as like adding names to this list, there's a reason why I stick with those two. There's a reason. I'm aware of many others out there, and that's not to say that there aren't other very good ones. Like, but as far as consistency, dedication, and knowing that, you know, like I know them personally. I've seen the work over time that they've put in, you know, over many years, and I can correlate my research with theirs and say, hey, these are individuals you can go and feel comfortable with, and take their information and go research it for yourself. You can go look at it yourself and cross-verify it, just like you can with almost everything on my channel. You can go out, do your own research, and verify it for yourself. But, you know, I think in especially like those who seek the truth, spiritual seekers, things like that, I think it's very, very easy for us to look around and just want something different, something new, right? What's the next hottest numerology thing going on, or what's you know, like what's going on in Hawaii and stuff like that. And I'm guilty of that. Look, what's going on in Hawaii is absolutely appalling, right? I'm just trying to put out examples out there of things that we continue, like the bait and switch. It's stuff that's out there, and I'm not saying not to be heartless and don't care. What's going on in Hawaii is absolutely, it's I don't even want to talk about it, because it's like you don't even know these days, right? I mean, you just don't. But it's heartbreaking what's going on out there. And but there's so many distractions that are embedded with the day-to-day experience, especially when we have things like social media and YouTube and Odysee and Rumble. There is not a day that goes by that you can go and find something new and interesting that is going to expand your knowledge about whatever the hell's going on here. There's so much out there. And then you can, you know, get lost on archive.org for decades. Well, your entire life, right? There's so much on that site. It's one of the best. It is the best website on the internet, archive.org, period. There is no better resource of information than that website. I donate to it every year. That's how much I value what they've contributed to the internet since the 90s. They're an incredible resource. What you can find on that website is great, but what I'm trying to get at is there's no shortage of things to suck you in and get you to fall into things that, yeah, while they're interesting and may help you on your journey, in the grand scheme of things, if you've already kind of come to the point where you know everything is BS, I mean, like just simple things like politics, right? The left versus right paradigm. That's real basic stuff, right? But if you get to that point, or whatever, anything, right, where the foundation of your life here in the Earth Matrix starts to crumble, the most important topic here is the soul trap. No doubt. And that's what I'm trying to encourage. I'm trying to say, hey, okay, go out there, do your own research. Don't trust me. I'm saying, okay, this is what I'm seeing, and you can take what I'm showing you, go out and verify it, whether it's with cases that I've gone over or no. Go and look at tons of other cases, and you will see the same thing, the same patterns across all these experiencer types over and over and over and over again. All these things collide into one big cornucopia of deception. And all I'm trying to do is say, hey, take this information. You don't have to watch any of my videos if you kind of have the base concept of what's going on and the experiencer types that you need to look into. You don't need my channel at all. Nobody does. But please don't let it also slip by either. Like, don't just discount it and say, hey, well, you know, maybe it's true or this, that. No, like, I think most of us can go out there and prove that something is very wrong here. Something is very, very wrong here. And it starts to make sense when you look at it through the lens of the soul trap. It makes perfect sense. I mean, crystal clear sense. Everything starts to just come together like never before. And you got to ask yourself, you know, why is the narrative that God is good and, you know, God is love and the Creator loves you, and why is that stuff pushed so much? Why? Why? If God is all loving, all knowing, and caring, and all omnipresent, and blah, 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 all this stuff, why would an abomination such as the Earth Realm and the human meat suit be allowed to continue? Why would you be allowed to come here memory wiped if you're supposed to work on your karma? If you're supposed to work on making your wrongs right. If everything's about love, why is there so much evil? Why does duality even exist? I think they've overplayed themselves. I think they've overextended themselves. They've made it so this place is so easy to see. But they've also overwhelmed us with information. And that has been their complete plan since the internet came out. Period. The entire point of the internet was to bombard us with information, bombard us with controlled information over and over and over again to the point where our heads are spinning. Just think about the thing that we had dealt with a few years back, right? Everything that was going on there. Why do you think so many different narratives were being spun? Some narratives for people like us, some narratives for people like, you know, those who like to take orders constantly, and everything in between. Why was there so many mixed messaging? Because they know this is a fact in psychology, in brainwashing, that if you put narratives out there that continue to muddy the waters and they battle against one another, what you do is you start to drive the psyche crazy, where like you're just going to side with the authority figure. And who's the authority figure? Either daddy government or God or the Creator or Jesus or Buddha or Muhammad or your deceased loved ones, whoever the hell it is, the council, the teacher, the guide, the soul group. Pick one. Pick one. It's the same concept. Anyways, that's kind of the last rant of the series. What I'm going to do is kind of throw up the end screen for now. Throw on some music and just kind of go through some of the comments before we close out the series for the night. But I also have a Truth in Gaming stream coming with the companion after we conclude here, which is supposed to start at 12:15, but I'm probably going to set that to 12:30 right now because that's only 4 minutes away. So if there are any questions or anything in the chat, I will take a quick look at those. I'm going to set it to, let's see, it's 12:11. Let me put 12:35 just for now. Maybe extended or lessened, but I'll take a look. And so I really appreciate each and every one of you, everyone who has watched this series. I can't thank you enough. I hope you've gained some value out of it. And if you have any questions, feel free to pop those in the chat now. I'll stick around for a couple minutes. And we may do a group voice call, panel call on the channel that's public, but I'm not 100% sure on that. The feedback, there was a few interested, but not necessarily enough to warrant a full conversation on the series. But anyone who is a member of the Last Timers Club is welcome to join, and if the stream levels are higher, and we may air that on the channel publicly. So feel free to pop up any questions. I want to thank Uwu and David Rollman, and also McDan M. Daniel. I want to thank you, my friend. I didn't want to put your whole name out there, but I appreciate your Stream Elements super chat. Appreciate you, my friend. And I want to give a quick hello to Rolling Water and KMF over on Rumble, and then on Odysee, True Detective, and Uni's over there as well. Thank you so much for watching the channel on the alternative platforms. I think it's important. There's a lot of stuff that goes on the main platform that we're all used to, and it's getting weirder and weirder, and I just never feel comfortable with where things are here. I always feel like I'm walking on eggshells, and I can't really, you always have to watch what you say and be careful about everything. It's frustrating and concerning. So if you don't mind signing up for the email list, I'd greatly appreciate it. It is one way for us to stay in touch just in case something should happen. You can find that in the pinned comment above. I will never ever sell your information or share it with anybody. And to this date, I think I've had this up since February of last year, and I haven't sent one email. But it's just a way for us to stay in touch just in case something should happen. So I have yet to send even one email out. So, all right. So just going to pop up the end screen, throw on some music, and I'll stick around for a couple minutes and then head on over to the Truth in Gaming channel if you want to join. I believe it's in the description tab. And on YouTube, you should get an automatic redirect offer from the platform, but I'll also pop it up in all the platforms. Okay. So feel free to pop your questions in Rumble, Odysee, or YouTube. And I'll stick around for a few minutes, and if there are any questions, then we'll see each other soon. I look forward to, I got some NDEs sitting, waiting to be reviewed, and some other interesting stuff. So, and then of course there is the monthly members live stream on Sunday, the 24th. And that's going to probably be around 7 or 7:30 p.m., but it'll definitely be the last Sunday of every month. Every single monthly members live stream is the last Sunday of every month. So feel free to swing by if you are interested. And always appreciate anyone who supports the channel, or even sharing, liking the video, commenting afterwards. You know, if an ad interests you that pops up, that really helps too. You know, maybe something pops up, a product or something, and, you know, clicking it helps tremendously if it's something you're interested in. All right, so gonna pop this up. Keep an eye on the chat, and then I'll head out of here. Thank you so much to each and every one of you who have been chilling and listening the entire time. Okay, what do we got here? Ed says, FC, a prison with the doors unlocked and opened. Very clever. Yep. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Couldn't agree more. Always good to have you, brother. You're a good friend of the channel. I appreciate you. As is D. D's been around for a long time. And Super. Sky's been around for a long time. Thank you. Carly. Good to see you, Carly. Life is absurd. Try to be strong and laugh. Exactly, MTN. Yep. Exactly. Mal Lopez says, laugh out loud at the piece of shit that turned out to be this Matrix is one of the things that we can certainly do. Super says Jeff Mara's show is turning into a clown world. Yeah, Super, I agree. It's especially like over the last year, there's a lot. I think he's run out of guests, to be honest. And you know, he uploads a lot. Like, look, I value a lot of what Jeff's put out there. There's a lot of great interviews, like many great interviews. But you know, like there were some interviews I saw where, like, yeah, that secret space guy, what's his name, Tony, you know, the whole secret space program is complete and utter psyop, the entire thing. And you know, I get some individuals who watch my channel and they're all about the alien stuff and don't get my take, but like the 20 and back stuff, that's all bullshit, all of it. You know, and I get it. Like, we all fall for things. I fell for a video that was supposedly okay, you guys ready to cringe on my behalf? I fell for a video that was supposedly like a secret Apollo mission that had an alien body being transferred back, and the video was very convincing. It wasn't like, you know, even when I look at it today, or if I look, not even today, I don't even know where I'd find it today, but like, let's just say like a couple years ago or something, I ran across it. It looked very convincing. Like, they picked up a body and it was some like secret thing, and it didn't look like some guy in a suit or some woman in a suit. I mean, I've fallen for so much BS, but so, like, you know, I'm not laughing at anyone who falls for the 20 and back stuff or the secret space program stuff. It's the secret space program narrative is really it's like the kind of transition from those who it's there to prevent people from finding out the truth about the entire space program being BS. And even if you do find out that the whole space program is a crock of crap, at the same time, there is the secret space program there to kind of cushion the blow of those who get to that point, right? And it's like, oh, okay. Well, now that makes sense because they can't, because of the whole alien thing and yada, 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 they need a black budget for the secret space program. So they can't even tell the public what's really going on in the secret space program or within the regular space program. So that's why they have the secret space program. I mean, it's just, these are the types of narratives that they spin and get you to believe in. And it's very, very sophisticated psyops. And that's just what, one little measly psyop in a world of endless psyops here. Anyways, rambling. It's I mean, Christ, some of the stuff I've fallen for years ago is just embarrassing. So, just saying, anyone who, wherever you're at in your journey of exploration, just know that the whole secret space program, every last bit of it is complete bullshit. Everything about it. John Doe. Oprah burned down Hawaii. That's right. Oprah's at fault. It's only Oprah. Nobody else. Mal Lopez says the creator Demiurge is either stupid or it was drunk when it created this pit of hell. Ed says Hawaii is a barbecue loosh fest for the entities. 100%. 100%. What happened there is just so sad. So beyond comprehension and how sick that is. Yes, David says, I call them the shiny toys, aka distractions. Exactly. It takes something that you have believed and that you're losing faith in, and then slightly twist it into a new narrative so that you're capable of not fully withdrawing from whatever concept it may be, but into a kind of extension of a previous concept that was already held as a belief system. Let's see. John Doe says, why do I have to go to work if God loves me, huh? Exactly. That's a good one. I like that. David says, I am convinced some human beings are not really human beings. This place crawling with bullshit and corruption and lizard people, maybe. Yeah, I don't know about the whole lizard people thing. But whatever, right? Who the hell knows? I mean, we have reptilian brain too, so it's not like that's completely out of the question. But as far as like the whole narrative and individuals associated with that, they're not very trusting individuals, let's just say that. And one of them even writes about the soul trap and steals ideas or steals information that is shared about the topic and puts it in a book. I'll leave it at that. Let's see, True Detective says, question, why do you suppose it's so easy to see now, but we haven't always seen it? That is a good question. I think the reason why it's easy to see it now is because the system itself has made a compromise, right? There is... Oh, let me just make sure the music's low. Okay. All right. So the system has made a compromise. It's clearly... It clearly got together and said, okay, we are going to offer the internet to the masses around the world. And it's going to be to our benefit. But when we open the internet, it's also going to allow certain types of information that we don't want out there. And so our number one job is to make sure that, yes, truth will get out because it's inevitable, but we also need to contain those truths. So I think the reason why like so much truth is being revealed is because it's inevitable when you allow access to this type of information. But they also at the same time have a lot of control over the situation too. Like if you just look at how controlled opposition's grown and prospered in the minds of many over Christ, even just 5-10 years, it's unreal. For the greater good, as sick as it sounds to say that, I mean, I hate saying that, the greater good of the Matrix, the trade-off is, okay, truth is going to be revealed on a mass scale, but at the same time, when the truths are revealed, it's luring in and making sure it knows who is on its side, who isn't, and as a result, they're going to be able to have better control over the overall situation, the overall control of the masses, I guess you can say, in the long run. So it's a risk and reward kind of program, a give and take. And really, if you kind of look at it, all the information that's out there, there's always a counter narrative where the system will chime in and insert itself so that our types of discussions are looked at as ridiculous. Or, you pick the defensive posture or statement that the system gives us, and it's always there. All right, I kind of lost myself here in the chat. Uni says, keeping it real, most people use internet per, P0RN. I'm not going to say the whole thing. It's pathetic. All this knowledge, but that's what we do with it. Yeah, no, it's, that's a huge part of it, right? Is to connect with the human anatomy. Right? That's a really good point to put out there, Uni. Really good point. Because it's attracting like the lowest common denominator, and it's attracting the young, right? It's attracting the teenagers or the young adults, and getting them to just get sucked in, right? And addicted to that type of thing. And it also takes away there's so much bad that comes with all that stuff, right? So much bad. It takes away, because if you start to consume that stuff on a regular basis, the chances of you maybe being with someone in your life lessens, having that personal human connection of intimacy lessens, and even if you have that connection of intimacy, then it's lessened in general, because the expectations through what you were watching online is, the expectations are different. Let's just put it that way. It's really it's insane what's going on with that whole thing. It's really messed up. Let's see. Now let me head on over to Odysee. See if there's anything over there. Let's see. Uni says SmackDown's coming with YouTube. Let's hope. Oh, by the way, I wanted to put this message out there. I think I shared it on Twitter, but I may have not finished it. Odysee is here to stay. The rebirth has begun. As some of you may know, they've filed an appeal with, I believe, the Supreme Court about the LBC coin. Even though Library is kind of scaling back, Odysee is not going anywhere. Everything is staying decentralized, and that's the beauty of the platform. There is nothing like it. Nothing like it. It's an amazing platform. It really is. You've got to deal with a little bit of hiccups here and there, but in general, what you're getting is a platform that will not remove content. They won't. They just won't. It's a library. Everything is decentralized and through the blockchain, and it's a great platform, and it's very unique. There's really nothing quite like it out there. Rumble's amazing too. Like, don't get me wrong. Rumble has really grown on me. I enjoy the platform a lot. They've clearly invested in their app and their website. They're really doing a great job over there too. So, there's some great alternatives out there. The way I kind of look at where I'm at, with YT is, you never know. It's great because it's a platform where you can have a voice for, a bigger audience, and the word spreads a bit more. But as far as tomorrow I could wake up and everything could be gone. That's just the truth of it. So, if you're watching the channel here, please consider heading on over to Odysee and or Rumble or both, and subscribing. There's links, referral links if you're new or haven't joined yet. Both platforms are completely free. I do have memberships on Odysee, but that doesn't matter. You're going to get the same exact content that you would on all the platforms that's out there. And there's a lot of other great creators out there too, where you can find some stuff. And there's books on Odysee, audiobooks and PDFs and files. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff there. It's a very unique platform. And Rumble, they're kicking ass too. They're really... I even bought stock in Rumble. I bought a few hundred shares. Not many, but, I bought some shares because I believe in what they're doing. It's important to have alternatives. Okay, so let me just check one more thing. Okay, I think that's going to be it, my friends. I don't see any more questions. It's been fun. So I will see you over on the Truth in Gaming channel. Feel free to join us if you'd like. A link should pop up. Hopefully. Okay, yeah, there it is. It's pinned in YouTube, and I'm also going to pop it again. Okay, it's already in Rumble and Odysee. So feel free to join if you'd like. We're going to go through the companion. This will be part 2. And if you'd like more information on the game, you can see the description tab by following that video. And there's also a trailer in there. I thought the first stream was great in part 1. It's an interesting game. Spiritual game. And I look forward to diving into part 2 with y'all. So maybe see you there. Much love. And hey, Conscious Soul, thanks so much. Good to see you. David, Sydney, John Doe, Jeff, Uwu, Uni, Sydney. I think I already said Sydney. Emil, Jonathan, Super, everyone out there, thanks so much for watching. Please consider hitting the like button on your way out. It really does help. And maybe commenting on the channel after the stream ends at some point. That does help too. And even the gaming channel, I'm trying my best to get the channel applied for monetization over there, because they run ads on it anyways, right? So it's might as well be able to make a few cents here and there. So trying to build up my watch hours on the gaming channel. So if there's something that interests you, please consider watching, or maybe even watching in the background. Wink, wink. All right, my friends, that's going to be it. I appreciate you all, and it's been a fun series. Quite an adventure. #LastTimers.